Hi, I'm Drew McCombs, and we've got another severe thunderstorm warning to tell you about here. And this is not too far away from the one we were looking at earlier. So this is a new severe thunderstorm warning for Colbert County. It also extends over into Franklin County. Again, very similar areas that cell moved through earlier. That's now moving towards Molton, that no longer has a warning on it, but this one back towards the west does. So this is just moving north of Tishomingo, Mississippi. And it is, definitely got a impressive looking hail core on it here, right there around the state line. And again, this warning is for Franklin and Colbert. It goes until 6:15. So we got a good, 40 something minutes left on the warning here. And so, yeah, we'll take a look at that. And let's see, zooming in here. So looking at some of the areas that are in this warning right now, at least immediately around the storm. You've got Cherokee, which as we kind of move this back and forth, it looks like the heavier part of the cell. You've got Cherokee right here. The heavier part of the cell is down here. You got a lot of lightning down here. The potential for the hail is further to the south. So it certainly looks like that this will probably stay to the south of Cherokee itself. But Mount Hester, you're certainly probably going to get at least some heavy rain out of this and some lightning. And then looks like as we zoom in a little bit closer here, some of the streets that are near this area of the hail, you got Allsboro Road, Buddy Durham Road, and you've also got, let's see, I'm trying to get a look at what highway that is there. James would know, wouldn't he? But anyway, we're just there kind of near the state line, and with Mississippi there and in western Colbert County. And again, it's moving near Mount Hester. It's going to be kind of moving south of Barton. But again, thankfully, at least, don't have a lot of population centers out here, but Maud Road, White Pike, and Stewart Camp Road, Minot Road, some of these areas are kind of within the immediate vicinity of this storm and the heavier part of the storm here. Eventually, some of the areas that were near that storm that we saw earlier, Crooked Oak could be near here. Looks like it's taking a little bit more of a northward trajectory than the previous storm was. We'll kind of look at the laps here. It still may kind of clip Crooked Oak potentially, and Littleville might get into it as well. So some of these areas that just had some heavy rain, some hail, good bit of lightning in the last hour or so. It looks like you may be ready to get another round of it as these storms are starting to kind of line up and go through some of the same areas here. And just to mention, we still have some heavy rain and potentially some small hail back towards Hatton, heading towards Molton. Again, that storm was the one that had the warning earlier. Doesn't still have a warning on it, but just a heads up, if you're in Molton and in that area, you're probably going to get some heavy rain and thunderstorm activity here pretty soon, maybe some small hail. But certainly this one here looks like it's got some hail with it. And we're looking at our hail detector product. This is looking at just kind of where hail might be located right now. And we're detecting the hail several thousand feet off the ground here. So we're certain that there's hail within the storm. Whether it's reaching the ground, you always have to ask that question. But I would say likely looking at the signature here, it's likely hitting the ground. And looking at our hail swath product, this basically takes the product, the detection of the hail, and extends it, basically just showing you where hail has been over the last hour. And you can see that it certainly is showing a good bit there with this storm as it's starting to cross the state line. Now we'll take a look at our velocity data here, and not seeing much in the way of a velocity signature, maybe more of a downburst signature. So whenever you have a strong hailstorm like this, as the hail is falling and as you get the kind of the load of heavy rain that is in the area too falling, you can certainly get some gusty winds that can knock down some trees. But at this point, we don't see any sort of suspicious rotation necessarily with this. Now, again, talking about the storm that we spent a lot of time on earlier that did some damage in Jefferson County, that did have, looks like at least a brief tornado, but may have lasted a little bit longer than that. Again, we got a good bit of damage that'll get assessed over the course of the next couple of days by the Weather Service. But generally, despite that one being, what seems like a bit of an aberration, hopefully, we're still expecting mainly hail to be the threat, and a good bit of lightning and some heavy rain at times. Now, the question will be, do these storms start training in the same location? over the course of the next number of hours. Originally, coming into today, we're not really thinking heavy rain was going to be a threat, but the way some of these storms are starting to set up, where they're starting to go through the same areas, that could introduce a little bit more of a flash flooding threat. So that'll be something we'll be watching as well. Obviously, you don't want to play around with that either and be out and about on the roads when there's potential really heavy rain there. So let's take a look at some of our sky cams here and look at Russellville and Cherokee here, given where we're looking at storms right now. Also, I do want to mention, real quick before I look at the camera, we don't have a severe thunderstorm warning right now for northern Pickens County, but you do have some really heavy thunderstorm activity in northern Pickens County, near Palmetto, kind of north of Reform and Gordo, north of 82 primarily at least, but as you get further back into western part of Pickens County, it's like right along US 82 as it goes into Mississippi. There's some very heavy rain, some lightning with that as well. So I do want to mention that. No warning there in Alabama. There is a severe thunderstorm warning that the Weather Service in Jackson had issued near Columbus for that. It has not been extended in Alabama quite yet, but we'll continue to watch that. Looks like also a heavy storm there moving towards Fayette. We also have another little cell there in western Jefferson County. And again, we've got this one, we've got these two cells kind of up here in northwestern Alabama. So let's take a look at some of the cameras here. And I just heard another, looks like another warning just came in here. So we'll take a look at that. Before we do that though, just looking at the Russellville Skycam from the Region Skycam Network. So again, we're looking in the direction of this severe thunderstorm warning. Let's go ahead and I'm going to kind of get a quick look at my bearings here and exactly where we're seeing this here. So now Russellville, where the camera is located here is kind of in between those two cells, the one that had the warning earlier and the one that's now further back to the west. So we're kind of looking back towards the one that's now coming in from Mississippi that's right there on the state line. And yeah, just saw some lightning there kind of on the right-hand side of the screen. Really dark looking there, obviously, with the storm, and you see the edge of it there, the edge of the rain shaft and the sunset. So again, we very likely see some kind of pretty spectacular looking sunsets with some of this as we are monitoring this, but obviously we got to worry about any potential severe weather impacts. There you go, there's some lightning, some cloud ground lightning. And again, these storms that have gotten strong today, lightning has certainly been, I haven't heard of any reports about being struck or anything, thankfully, but lightning is certainly something that has been very abundant with these storms. So we definitely want to keep that in mind with those here. Now, looks like the Cherokee camera may have a pretty good look on it as well, but let's go, before I do that, I just want to check. Like I said, I believe we've got a new warning. Yep, looks like they have re-warned the eastern storm there in North Alabama. So we still don't have any warnings in central Alabama for anything currently. And just to kind of mention, if you're wondering, if you're watching from South Alabama, we are, there's nothing in South Alabama right now to speak of outside of a few showers. So just some general showers around Montgomery, Phoenix City, Auburn, Opelika, Demopolis, Dothan, all those places, Mobile, Gulf Shores. There's really not much happening. We'll just switch to the Mobile radar real quick. Yeah, just a few showers right now. That's going to change as we get late tonight and into tomorrow morning. That's when the storms will start to make their way into South Alabama. We do think by then things will be kind of settled down some as far as the severe potential. Should be some heavy rain and moving through it, but we don't expect as much of a issue with severe weather, but there still could be some strong thunderstorms that we'll obviously be watching as we move through time here. All right, so let's go back up to the new warning here. So we've got two warnings now, two severe thunderstorm warnings. Again, just to be clear, this is not these are not tornado warnings at this point. These are severe thunderstorm warnings. And we will kind of go through them from that perspective. But again, looking at Molton, we mentioned earlier with this storm that Molton, that you needed to be kind of paying attention, and looks like it may arrive a little bit sooner than we had thought. It might be moving a little bit faster. It's around 5:32 right now, and the outer edges of this storm are starting to move into Molton at this point with a good bit of lightning. The core of it's still further back off towards west, towards Mount Hope, and again, that 24 corridor is where I wouldn't be trying to avoid driving along 24 from Molton heading towards Russellville at this point. Because of the fact that you've got some really heavy rain and potential probably some hail with this as well. And as far as this warning is concerned, let's see here. I want to just make sure I've got the best Let's see if we look at our high top radar, if we're any better on our, yeah, we're a little bit better off from our Columbus radar on this one. A little bit closer to the radar site. So let's just take a quick look at the text of the warning with this. I can get it pulled up here. All right, so this is severe thunderstorm warning for this storm, and it's for it's a pretty large warning. So again, we're currently looking at it in Lawrence County, again around the Molton area, and points to the west. But you can see that the polygon extends further east, so that includes parts of Morgan County, including Hartselle and Falkville, and then even the northern sliver of Coleman County. So let's just kind of look through some of the places that show up on the map here. So the town of Wren, Landersville, like I said, Molton for sure. We're right there. It's kind of our biggest population center there in the area. 5 Points, Oakville, Speake, Danville, and then Hartselle would be kind of our next. Hartselle, Falkville, Lakin, and down towards Vinemont, some of those areas. Because Hartselle will be the next kind of fairly large population area that this will be moving towards. But again, it'll be a little bit before it gets there. And again, it could dive a little bit further towards the south. We'll see as it gets closer whether it actually impacts Hartselle directly or not. But again, eventually down towards Vinemont in Coleman County. So just kind of that northern sliver, including Vinemont in Coleman County, is in the polygon. Also includes Eva there as well in Morgan County. So that's where the polygon is for now. Again, that goes pretty far downstream of the current location of the storm. But again, if you're again in these areas, just be good to be inside. I mean, we're not talking about a tornado warning at this point, but it is a severe thunderstorm. It's got the potential for some hail, maybe some gusty winds, and so we want to just treat it with respect and be inside. I would avoid driving in these areas where the polygon, where the storm is currently, if you can, and just kind of hunker down, because again, we've definitely had one storm that's had some history of producing some issues further to the south today. But we'll be watching these to see if they try to do anything similar. Now we're looking at our velocity here, and I will say that this is we saw a little bit of side lobe contamination with that storm in Jefferson County earlier. We did end up getting a tornado with it, or at least a very small gustnado, small tornado, and at least some wind damage that occurred with it. This though looks like it's kind of out in front of the storm, and looks like it could be a little bit of artifact. So I would think there's still very possible that we're seeing some gusty winds there out ahead of this. Could be knocking down a few trees there west of Wren, kind of south of Landersville. So again, just to be safe, I would go ahead and, if you're in these areas, go ahead and just be inside, especially if you've got large trees in your area and around your house and where you're located. And so Molton, again, you're going to kind of get clipped with kind of the northern edge of this, but that main core that might be with a better chance of producing some sort of trees being knocked down stuff, maybe a little bit further towards the southwest. Now, I think I heard another warning. Yep, looks like we've got a new warning here into Fayette, Alabama. So this is a cell that's just to the north of the ones that I mentioned earlier that are in northern Pickens County and starting to move into northwestern Tuscaloosa County. And this one is right there near Fayette itself, just to the north of Fayette along US 43 and also State Highway 18. So it's just moved through. And again, this looks like it's had a pretty good core on it as it moved through Crossville, or near kind of just to the north of Crossville earlier. And it's the core of it is going to be kind of coming right there through the northern part of Fayette, south of Lawrence Mill. And Lawrence Mill, you're getting heavy rain kind of right there in the southern part of that area. Lots of lightning with this one as well. I've seen 13 strikes in this area in the last 3 minutes. And again, yeah, Fayette itself is in the polygon here. And again, we'll take a look at the warning for this one from the National Weather Service. So this is from the National Weather Service in Birmingham. So this is a warning for Central Fayette County, and it's located over Fayette, moving east about 20 miles per hour. And the possibility, the hazards here with this one would be 60 mile per hour wind gusts, and quarter-size hail would be possible with this. It's indicated by radar at this point. I don't think we've had official reports of it out of this storm yet, but again, places like Fayette, Berry, Bankston, Bevel State College, Fayette County Public Lake, and Richard Arthur Richard Arthur Field are all within this polygon here. So again, I want to just make sure that you're taking this seriously and go ahead and be in your safe place, be inside. Don't be out driving in it at this point because as we've mentioned, we've had a good bit of trees coming down in spots with that other cell earlier, so we don't want anybody out getting trees knocked onto your car because that's never a good situation. Let's take a look at we're looking at reflectivity real quick. We'll switch over to velocity product and seeing a little bit, looks like there could be some wind potential with this. Maybe nothing, again, super crazy looking here, but we'll just kind of get a few queries. So 30, 40 mile per hour winds, and we're seeing this about 1,500 feet off the ground. And we'll just click through some other products here. So this doesn't look super threatening from the perspective of the wind. I'd say it could knock down a few trees, but hail, again, is the main thing here. So we are seeing a lot of these storms are producing good signatures in our hail products. And again, that's what we expected. Today was definitely the primary threat was going to be a hail threat, and that's what we've been looking at the last couple of days. And it's certainly come to fruition. And in addition to some of the trees that have been knocked down and things like that in Jefferson County as well. So certainly expecting to see some hail with this. Let's see here. And it looks like we're seeing some pictures here from some of the hail that fell earlier. I'm trying to get some information on that. I think this is from the Jefferson County stuff, but I'm going to just ask that question from Brett Adair. So we may take a look at that in a second. We may look at a few pictures from some of the previous activity if we get a break in things. But again, we've got active warnings right now that we need to cover. Again, right now, this severe thunderstorm warning in Fayette County, we're watching that, moving towards Bankston, moving towards Berry. So if you're in those areas, you want to take cover or just at least be inside. Let's move back up. Let me just make sure I don't have any other ones that have popped up here. Looks like we've got 3 warnings in the state at this point that we are watching. And let me just check our Skywatcher chat here. See if we've got anything. Yeah, so we're definitely seeing some interesting images starting to come in from Pinson, which I'll try to show eventually here, where you had the wind damage and also lots of hail. We'll definitely need to show some of these pictures here in a little bit because we've got some really interesting hail shots coming in from some of that, and we've got some drone pictures coming in there. So we will certainly take a look at those here in a bit. But yeah, turn the ground white with the hail there. So again, that's a possibility with some of these storms. We're kind of all in the same environment, so there's possibility that even if you don't get really large hail that might damage, vehicles and things like that, you could get large amounts of small hail that could kind of wipe the ground for a little bit. So as we look at this warning here, that's back in Colbert and Franklin counties. Let me just make sure I got the right radar pulled up here. Yes, so we're south of Cherokee. Again, Cherokee's getting some heavy rain at this point. So if you're in Cherokee, you're getting heavy rain, but you're not really you're in the polygon, but really that heaviest part of the storm, the threatening part of the storm is really south of you if you're in Cherokee. That would also go for Mount Hester. And again, this is moving towards Crooked Oak. Again, some of these areas in southern Colbert, northern Franklin counties that just saw that heavy storm move through in the last hour or so, you're about to get it again with this storm coming through now. Still lots of lightning. We got 43 strikes in this area of the map just in the last 3 minutes. We've still got a really strong looking core here. So that's certainly, you can definitely tell that that's a hail core right there. We'll take a look at some of our other products here. Haven't really looked at this a whole lot. Probably should have looked at it earlier with our storm that produced some of the damage in Jefferson County, but the debris detector product here, yes, we use it to look for tornado debris, but when you start to see these type of signatures here, we see this sort of vertical line here. This is what we just kind of basically refer to as a hail spike, where there's so much hail being detected that is basically down kind of stream from where the radar's pointed from. It kind of affects the data away from that. And so when you start to see those little spikes like that, that's always a good indication that you've got hail within the storm that you're hitting there. So we certainly know we've got lots of hail, and I'd say the good chance we're going to get some hail reports from these areas eventually, even though we're kind of rural in some of the areas that we're in right now. And again, that's probably a good thing, but we know we still got some people who live out here. So again, if you're around the White Pike area, White Pike, the road that was called White Pike, you've got, looks like Coolidge Cemetery Road is nearby. Green Hill Road, again, we're near the county line between Colbert and Franklin counties. And eventually Frankfort, this will be near there, in Crooked Oak. Those are going to be the next places that probably get some impacts, some heavy rain, lightning, probably some hail with this storm. And again, as we've mentioned, we don't see really big indications of wind issues with this at this point. So that's good to see. It looks like this is mainly a hail threat. And that's one of the things with these storms we see, looking at and this was something that we were kind of expecting. A lot of these storms they look like supercells. They are supercells, which again, you usually would associate those with tornadoes, but because we don't have really ideal conditions at the lowest levels of the atmosphere, that's why this is not looking like a big tornado day, even though again, we've had some trees down and probably a small tornado. We don't see this as a big day because we don't have some of those low level wind fields really in the right spot for that, which is a good thing. So this is almost more like, you can see these kind of days sometimes. A lot of times you'll see those out in the southern plains where you'll get these big supercells, but they're mainly just hail threats. They're producing lots of hail. They'll knock down some trees. They'll produce tons of lightning, heavy rain, but they're not as much of a tornado threat. So this is kind of set up more like that compared to what we see around here on days where we have major problems with possibilities for tornadoes or strong tornadoes. And even just the direction of these, kind of moving this sort of northwest to southeast kind of motion. That's a lot of times what you see in those kind of situations as well. I'm just seeing some more pictures coming in. Taking a look here. Seeing some pictures from my mom showing that there's still some hail piled up at their house from that storm earlier in Jefferson County. It's not melted yet. Take a look here. Let's see, I'm going to take a look at our Skywatcher report, see if we see anything else here. Also check and make sure we don't have any new warnings. Looks like we've got some continuances of the warnings that are in effect from Huntsville. So they're continuing the warnings. They're not going to cancel them or let them expire or anything at this point. You can see we do have more warnings back in North Mississippi that are for these storms that are further to the west around Ripley and Boonville, places like that, moving kind of in the direction of these other warnings in northwestern Alabama. So again, we'll be watching those storms as well. As we look further to the south, got a decent looking cell there, trying to move into northern Lamar County, near Sulligent, maybe not quite reaching there. And this will probably, so it may go a little north of Sulligent, kind of heading towards Guin, but in Detroit. That one doesn't have a warning, but looks like it's at least got some heavy rain and some lightning with it. And we mentioned earlier, we don't have any sort of warning on this, thankfully, but there is some heavy thunderstorm activity there in northern Pickens County and northwestern Tuscaloosa County. And it's been kind of sitting there for a decent amount of time. So again, at some point in some of these areas, if we get rain sticking around the same areas for a long enough period of time, we might start to see a few flood advisories or maybe a flash flood warning or two. So again, in addition to the hail, in addition to the lightning, maybe some gusty winds that could knock a few trees down with these storms, there's also a possibility you might have some probably fairly transient or quick flooding that might occur, especially in those more flood-prone areas, those low-lying streets and places that tend to always get flooded, or the kind of places that would get flooded in these areas. And it usually is going to be fairly quick. But again, you don't want to mess around with that. Don't be trying to cross flooded roadways and creeks and stuff that are swollen. So we don't want anybody out there doing any of that. Especially again, we're getting the sun will be going, is kind of heading down at this point, and so we want to make sure we're not doing anything we don't want to that we shouldn't be doing as far as that's concerned. So let's go ahead and I'm going to click on a few of our cameras here. So I'll take a look at our Florence camera, and now this is the UNA camera, and I think we may be looking in the wrong direction here. see anything, but you can see it's 60 degrees currently in Florence there. 58 degrees is our dew point. So we still got some pretty moist air there in that part of the state. We'll go to Russellville, and I'm just going to kind of click through the ones I have here, and then I'll show some other ones that we have as well. Again, the Russellville camera, we're right there. Again, we're kind of pointed back. Let me just double check again where we currently have it pointed, but I think we're kind of still pointed back towards the storm in the west. There's some good lightning. We might need to stick with this one here for a little bit because we're getting some good lightning. Yeah, this one's kind of staring into the teeth of the severe thunderstorm warning that's there in Colbert and Franklin counties right now. So look at let's just kind of take this one in a little bit here because we're getting quite a lightning show. And as the skies are getting darker, we're going to be able to see this even more. And it doesn't really seem like we're seeing any signs of slowing down. And it looks like we've gotten a new Mezoscale discussion that's come out from the Storm Prediction Center. I'm going to take a quick look at that and let you watch some of the lightning there with the Russellville storm. Again, if you're in these areas of that are in the polygon there within Colbert and Franklin counties, again, we want you to be inside. There's no reason to be out playing around with this, with all this lightning and the heavy rain. And again, we're not seeing huge wind issues. It doesn't look like with this particular storm yet, but not to say that it couldn't happen. So yeah, there we go. We'll just kind of let that one sit for a little bit there. It'll get quite a lightning show. Let me just see what we've got it from the Storm Prediction Center here. Okay, so talking about the severe storm potential continue for the next few hours. I'm not expecting to issue a watch. So there's been some questions within the weather community here locally about whether we would get a watch with this activity or not. With the amount, there's some lightning. With the amount of thunderstorms and with some of the impacts we've seen, there've been some people wondering if we were going to get a watch or not. But it looks like at this point they're not expecting a watch. So the chance of issuing a watch is 20% at this point from the Storm Prediction Center. So basically, isolated strong to severe storms remain possible for the next few hours. The main concern will be severe hail and locally damaging wind gusts. And so I'm just going to kind of read through this real quick while you watch the lightning show here from the Russellville camera. Of course, we're going to lose daytime heating here pretty soon, and so that's going to help us probably a little bit, but there's still going to be enough instability and enough moisture that it's going to probably help keep the storms going for a good while. And they've got enough shear at the upper levels to kind of keep the updrafts going here. And so we probably will continue to see some organization of these thunderstorms for a while. We'll have to continue to watch them for a while, at least for the next few hours. But it does look like as we get later on, storms will begin to merge into clusters, and eventually, as things kind of cool down during the nighttime period, we'd expect things to kind of sort of die down a little bit here. But again, take a look at that lightning coming in from the Russellville camera there. It's pretty impressive. I'm going to look around off screen here and see if there's any other ones we need to be looking at here. Wow. And it seems like, this is one of those things you do tend to see with hailstorms. I might be seeing a little bit of a hue of green there in the storm. And a lot of times when you've got hail in a storm, it'll kind of get a little bit of a green color. It's subtle, but it kind of seems like I may be seeing some green hues there kind of in the middle of the storm, which again, that's just kind of classic hailstorm look. Let's see here. Where else do we want to kind of look for some storms? I think we've got the Hatton cam. I might try to turn it back towards the storm to its southeast. That storm's getting closer in the vicinity of Hartselle. Again, it's been moving. It's kind of moved through Molton at this point. So things will be starting to calm down a little bit in Molton here fairly soon. And let's see, we move this camera a little bit this way. All right, we'll pull up our other computer here. Ooh, I don't want to take it off that one, to be honest. There's Hatton right there. So we're looking, this camera is looking back kind of on the back side of the thunderstorm that's further towards the east, that's moving through Molton at this point, that may eventually get close to Hartselle. We can't see as much from it. I think I may still seen a little bit of lightning, but this is kind of as the storm is sort of moving away and looking at it from the backhand side. It's 62 degrees there in Hatton right now, but we'll go ahead and switch back over to the Russellville one. This one's will be kind of an interesting one to watch here for a little bit. We'll just make sure we're looking at the best possible direction for it. And again, we'll talk about, so we'll take a radar check here pretty soon. We'll just see if we can capture anything with this, but you can definitely see tons of lightning. I'm going to kind of pan this over just a smidge. Oh, there we go. All right, so now we're actually kind of able to see some of the structure of the storm here. So I'm going to kind of... You certainly can see some low-hanging clouds. We'll see what we can see as the lightning's flashing there in Russellville. So definitely, again, if you're in the path of this storm, it's a dangerous storm. It's got lots of lightning. It's got likely some hail falling with it. Could have some gusty winds. It doesn't look like we're seeing, a tornado or anything like that. Like I said, the velocity has not looked impressive with this, but certainly an impressive looking storm as we look at it here on the camera. See if we zoom in a little bit on it. Don't want to lose too much of the contrast there. Certainly, the base of the storm is really close to the ground there, as you would expect with this kind of a storm. Yep, lots of lightning there, and certainly one that you want to be inside for and be inside your house, be in your center of your house, just in case, as a course of least regret. I'll kind of zoom back out a little bit here just to kind of give you a little bit more of a view of the storm, of the overall look of the storm. All right, so I'm going to switch back to the radar here now. It's hard to go away from the camera in these kind of situations here, but I do want to kind of reset and get our bearings here on where we currently have warnings. So really the main warnings we have right now, we have 3 warnings in the state. We've got the one that we've been watching the camera for here is for, basically it's right there along the storm itself is along the Colbert and Franklin County line. It's starting to move out of southern Colbert County at this point. So again, we'll kind of play the loop of it here, let you see how it's moving. So it's going to be moving into Frankfort very soon. So if you are in Frankfort, this is a pretty nasty storm. It's likely producing hail. It's got lots of lightning. Again, we'll look at our velocity. The velocity just has not been looking, and like we've talked about the reasons why that is, the velocity with these storms in the northern part of the state have not looked impressive. And to this point, and I'm just double checking, I just don't want to say anything that's incorrect, but I don't see any indications from the northern part of the state that there are issues with trees being knocked down and things like that with these storms. It definitely looks like it's more of a hail situation with these, but I'm going to go ahead and just double check again with our friends in Huntsville. So, and they're talking about the Lawrence County storm being upgraded to 2-inch hail possibility. So we'll take a look at that one here in a second. But yeah, I'm seeing lots of hail reports, certainly with what's coming in from the north storms, the northern storms. So we've seen the hail spike. We talked about that earlier. They're mentioning that side lobe contamination in the Lawrence County storm that wasn't a rotation. So we talked about that earlier as well. And yeah, 1.5, 2-inch hail might be possible with the storm here in Colbert and Franklin, and also the one further towards the east as well. And so we're starting to get pictures of some of the hail coming in from places like Molton, from Minot, and even a little bit of flash flooding in Molton as well. So certainly these are storms that you don't want to mess around with and you want to be inside for and not out and about as it moves through. So again, for this one, Crooked Oak, Frankfort, that's the area you want to be concerned about. Let's move over to the one that's moving into some of the more populated areas, heading towards Hartselle and Falkville, near Danville at this point. Let me get back on the high top radar. Yeah, wow, this is the hail signature on this one has certainly ramped up here, and we're even seeing a little bit more shear activity with this. So I would be a little bit more concerned that this storm, even though there still could be some contamination in the data here, this may not be totally real. I'm a little more concerned just kind of with what we saw from the storm in Jefferson County earlier, that we might start to get some reports of some wind issues with this one potentially, just the way it looks. And so appears to have some pretty large hail possible within that. We look at our hail product, yeah, that's a very significant signature in our hail detector product. So there's likely at least lots of small, if not big hail with this near Speak, near Danville, near Oakville, and we're in southeastern Lawrence County. This is about to move into southwestern Morgan County. And again, it looks like the trajectory of it might keep it mainly south of Hartselle itself, but moving towards Falkville, and Falkville may kind of get clipped, but it may be kind of diving more towards places like West Point and Vinemont in northern Coleman County that are in the polygon right now as well. Coleman itself, we'll see as it gets further towards the southeast. It looks like it may go north of Coleman, but it is. This is definitely a mean-looking hailstorm for sure. We've got 69 strikes. Let's zoom in a little bit more. 44 strikes of lightning with this particular cell in the last 3 minutes, and that has. Let's see how much that's increased. It's probably it's bumped up. It's been kind of steady up and down a little bit there. Again, looking at the velocity there, again, if I was in Piney Grove, Danville, places like that, I think you definitely want to just be inside, go ahead and be in your safe place, and just don't be out and about. That's the main thing with that. Be in a safe place if you're in the path of this. And again, this eventually is heading down towards places like, or near places like Falkville and Lakin there in southern Morgan County, and then getting into northern Coleman County near West Point and Vinemont here in the next little bit of time here. So this is currently moving around 30 or so miles per hour. So we'll do a quick track with this and just give you an idea of a time of arrival with some of this here. So we'll do it around 30 miles per hour or so, and generally in the direction it's going. So again, Piney Grove, just in the next 5 minutes or so, could be right there on you with potentially some gusty winds, but definitely some heavy rain, lots of lightning, probably some hail with it. West Point with about 627, and then Vinemont around 637 possible, and Simcoe around 650, Berlin around 654. Eventually, again, if it holds together, Holly Pond, it might be in that area as we get closer to 7 o'clock. So again, we'll hope this thing doesn't maintain itself that entire time, but it's heading kind of in that direction at this point, but no polygon for Holly Pond, or again, Coleman itself, at least kind of Coleman proper right there near downtown, is not in the polygon, but as you get further to the north, Vinemont, places like that, as you get towards Lakin, is definitely within the polygon there. Let's see, we're getting again reports of 1 3/4 inch hail coming out of these storms, and let me see if that was from, let me turn the storm reports back on. I think this is the one from earlier. That was the 1 inch hail. Yeah, this is probably from, this is from this storm, I think, here. So this is probably it right here, the 1.8 inch hail with this storm earlier as it was moving through western Colbert County. You had 1.5 inch hail. So again, we're getting likely some very large hail in both the kind of northern part of Franklin County, far southern part of Colbert County, Crooked Oak, Frankfort. Again, it's right there on you right now. You want to be inside. And then also looking at it in southeastern Lawrence County, again, Danville, Speake, and Piney Grove. It's not right on top of you yet, but I'd go ahead and be in your safe place now. And then again, Hartselle, it's going to be close. You're getting rain right now, but it looks like the worst of the hail and the impacts with this are likely moving to your south, especially the wind part of it. So that is good for the Hartselle area, but of course we've got other areas that we're watching here. And as we're looking at, this is our velocity product. Yeah, so that's 59. That's that, is looking more like we may have some wind issues. Like I mentioned earlier, this was looking a little bit more suspicious. So my guess would be we're going to start to hear of potentially some issues with some wind, with some trees coming down, things like that near Piney Grove there, right there, kind of near the intersection of where Lawrence, Morgan, Coleman, and Winston counties come together. All right, so we're getting several other warnings starting to pop up here. So let's take a look here. At least they're getting updated. So we're going to kind of do a look around here. So this is, and so it looks like we also got a flood advisory, but it looks like the warning for Fayette and Tuscaloosa. Okay, I think, yeah, they did go ahead and extend this one. So that's one of the ones I heard. I'll go ahead and switch us back to the Columbus radar. So the National Weather Service in Birmingham for this storm there, that's west of Barry right now, and it's going to be moving into northern Tuscaloosa County here fairly soon. That's what they just issued this one for. So that was originally for Fayette County. They've now extended that down. Still part of Fayette County is still included, is still located in Fayette County as we speak. And again, this does have the potential for some hail, lots of lightning, potentially some gusty winds with it as well. Don't see the winds on this one, doesn't look quite as suspicious as the one up there further towards Hartselle and places like that, or near Hartselle. Again, we don't think it's going to actually hit Hartselle with that, with those winds and with the hail. But that's kind of what we're looking at with here, with this one here. So moving down towards New Lexington, and the polygon includes that area, Willingham Road, Gorgas Road, Evanstown Road. Again, Wyndham Springs is just to the south of the polygon, but you can basically kind of consider yourself in it. And then Whitson there. And again, this is along Highway 69, kind of moving up, starts or kind of runs through Tuscaloosa, goes up towards the north near North River and Lake Tuscaloosa, and then kind of heads up towards the northern part of the county. So that's kind of the area we're talking about, that far northern part of Tuscaloosa County, where you could see some hail and some gusty winds potentially with this storm. We'll take a look at the warning real quick on that, and we'll see what the information is saying. So it is a severe thunderstorm warning for north central Tuscaloosa County, southeastern Fayette County, and it's near Bankston, about southeast, 9 miles southeast of Fayette, moving east at 25. 60-mile-per-hour wind gust and quarter-size hail are going to be your main possibilities with that. And so again, we recommend to move into an interior room in the lowest floor of your building with this particular storm. Again, further to the southwest, we still don't have any warnings on the ones in Pickens and kind of northwestern Tuscaloosa County. But again, and I'm going to look back up. I see we do have that flood advisory. So I do want to mention real quick that a flood advisory has been issued for, it looks like, mainly Jefferson County, but it does include some of southern Walker County. For some of the rain that's coming has already fallen, and that's starting to move in from the west. And so we got a flood advisory. And again, a lot of these areas in the Birmingham metro there's some areas that are very flood prone that are kind of your typical problem areas. So those would be the main areas I would worry about as far as flooding. So again, if you know of areas that always get flooded, always have standing water in this kind of situation with heavy rain, I'd just avoid those. But that's, again, mainly for Jefferson County, including downtown Birmingham and a lot of kind of the core of the Birmingham metro. It also does include places that saw some of the damage earlier, like Trussville, and Chalkville and Moody and places like that, or at least almost to Moody, getting over to Leeds, Irondale, Birmingham Airport, places like that. But let's go ahead and I want to turn my attention back up towards these storms from the northwest, because those are right now looking like the kind of the meanest storms to my eye. And so I want to just continue to check in on those, check in with our National Weather Service friends in Huntsville. And again, we saw the reports of large hail there and quarter-size hail in a few spots. But I see a shear marker starting to pop up. Now, this is from the Birmingham radar. That means we're probably seeing that 5,000 or 6,000 feet off the ground. I'm going to switch over to the more closer radar. We're not seeing it as much from the high top radar, which is seeing it about, actually, it's a similar distance there. So, but it's not showing it. Let's go ahead and just take a look at some of our data here. Yeah, it's still, showing that there's at least some rotation within the mesocyclone of the storm. Doesn't guarantee that it's there right at the ground. Now, let's see here. I want to take a look. Well, just first of all, before I do that, again, this is severe thunderstorm warning for this area. And this is the one we've talked about before, which is going to be probably moving southwest of Hartselle. It's heading towards the general area of Falkville and Lakin. And it's kind of skirting Piney Grove right now. Highway 157 there, that kind of goes near Speak and heads towards West Point, down towards Coleman, but goes through West Point and south of Vinemont. Those areas in northern Coleman County, southern Morgan County are the places that are kind of right under the gun right now, and that you want to be in your safe place just to because of the fact that we've got some large hail. You don't want to be near windows if you got a hail that might break a window or something like that. I haven't heard of any of that yet, but just in case. And any sort of trees that might come down, anything like that. Again, severe thunderstorm warnings. We don't have any tornado warnings. We haven't had a tornado warning yet today. We still are not expecting major issues with that, but certainly we're continuing to just look for any evidence of anything that is a problem. But hail has been the main problem for sure. But let's take a look again and I'm going to pull up and just see what cameras might be a good thing to look at. Again, we're starting at the point where it's going to be harder to see things, but we probably will be seeing lots of lightning at least. And yeah, I'm thinking we may start to pull up our Fairview and Coleman County cameras here pretty soon, because we're getting some good lightning off of those, pointing kind of directly into the storm there. Let's see if any of those are on my list here. Yeah, so we got Coleman. So we'll pull Coleman up real quick. We've got some lightning coming off our Coleman region sky cam here. I'm kind of tilted up a little bit, kind of looking directly into the storm. There you go. There's some lightning there. So we'll let it sit there for a second. And I'm going to queue up so we can take a look at our Fairview camera, which is also in Coleman County. I believe it's got a nice view as well, or at least getting some lightning occasionally. Again, the lightning has been fairly continuous with a lot of these thunderstorms once they've gotten going, for sure. So that's your Coleman County, or your Coleman camera there. We'll switch over and take a look at, there's the Fairview camera, and we're kind of looking back towards the same thunderstorm. There you go, there's some good lightning on that. So we're at 61 degrees is our temperature right now. And dew points are still in the upper 50s, and we've got low 60s in spots. Again, the front has not pushed hardly, that far at all today. It seems like it's kind of hung up in North Alabama, and it's not moved a whole lot here, but we expect it'll start to kind of accelerate more as we get later into the evening. And we see quite a bit of lightning there on that Fairview camera. Going to leave it on that for a second. We'll continue to look around to see what other ones that we can take a look at here. Take a look at our newest Skycam, the Decatur Skycam. We're in downtown Decatur there, and we're looking back towards this same storm. Of course, we got the city lights and everything. You may not be able to see lightning quite as well. We're a little bit further away, kind of on the wrong side of the storm to see into it well. What I might do, though, is there's another cell starting to form kind of the northwest of Decatur that's moving, that might eventually become something of interest. It's got some lightning with it as well. I'm going to point it kind of in its direction. And we'll see if we see anything off that. I did see just some lightning right there. There's a little bit. So kind of keep an eye on this, kind of in this direction to see if anything ramps up. May have messed that one up a little bit there. I'm going to point it back down a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on things in Decatur here. We've still got lots of lightning, though, at the one in Coleman for sure. So we'll switch back over. And we continue to see quite a bit of lightning there in Coleman. Let me tilt this one down just a little bit. You can see kind of the city lights there. So yeah, we're getting lots of lightning, some hail. Let's take a look. We'll kind of head back and take a look at the radar again. Kind of do a radar check here real quick to see what our current situation is. As far as the warnings are concerned. So let's just go ahead. I'm just kind of do a quick reset real quick. So again, looking at the whole state, we'll put our national radar back on here. We have, again, South Alabama is very quiet. Got a few showers. We got some showers around Montgomery. But you've got a few showers. This storm from earlier that did the damage in Jefferson County has sort of weakened enough and has fallen apart basically. And so as it's moved further into eastern Alabama, there's not much left there. And then again, you've got activity there kind of in western and central Alabama. we've got at least one warning on there. We got the aerial flood advisory as well. And then we've got those couple of severe thunderstorm warnings there, kind of on the southern side of the Tennessee River and kind of right there as you get out of the Tennessee River Valley. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. And we'll go ahead and zoom back in. We'll just take another quick look. Again, this one, these two storms here in northern Alabama are the ones that are kind of the most concerning ones, look the strongest at this point. Definitely look like good hailstorms. We've still got a severe thunderstorm warning for this one that extends until 6:30. So it's got about 12 minutes left on it. We'll see if the Weather Service continues to warn on it. It seems likely that they will, just given the what it looks like right now. I'm going to take a look at their chat, see if I see any indications from that. It looks like they may have continued it just here. Although this may be the other one. I think they're continuing the warning for the one further towards the northwest. So let's look at that one real quick. So it appears they're going to continue that one. It's going until 7 o'clock. So we got about 40 more minutes left on this one. And it looks like now, earlier it was looking like it might skirt north of Russellville, but I guess at this point, Russellville is getting some of the hail there. So, if you're in Russellville, you certainly, in the northern part especially, in between Russellville and Littleville along 43, it's probably hailing pretty good right now, and there's a good bit of lightning. And so you want to definitely be in your safe place again there. And also in Tharptown, Saints Crossroads. And again, we talked about the 24 corridor earlier with that previous storm. Same thing would go for this one, where if you're along 24 there, just to the east of Russellville, going back towards Molton near Newburg, this storm is kind of heading towards 24 there over the course of time. It may take its time getting there, but it's kind of heading in that direction. And so I would expect to have some hail and heavy rain there eventually. And then Mount Hope and Landersville, you might eventually end up getting the storm as well here. So again, we'll do a quick, let's see, we'll take a look at the latest text on the movement of that here. Let's see. All right, so we're moving about 35 miles per hour or so. So we'll do a quick track on this storm here, and sort of to the east-southeast. So again, Mount Hope around 6:43 or so, Landersville around 6:47. Molton, again, this storm could be eventually getting into your area as well. Again, it could go a little bit north to south potentially, it looks like, but we'll be nearby about 6:50 or so in about 30 minutes. Speak of which you've just had this storm, the previous storm move through about 7:13. You could see that in Danville about 7:18. It's possible that this storm is near you around that time as well. So again, these storms certainly are taking similar paths, which is kind of interesting to see that. And again, that would tend to ramp up the possibility of maybe potentially some flash flooding in some spots. Again, we don't have any flood advisories in this area of the state currently. But looking back off towards the west, again, you see we've still got some fairly heavy thunderstorms moving in from Mississippi in similar areas. So then, it stands to reason that we could see some flood advisories potentially, at least in some of these areas, if this continues to happen in the same spot. Now, I do want to go back to this storm in Hartselle, and I'm hearing an alert. That's looks like that's a severe thunderstorm warning, probably for this storm, looks like here, because it looks like it's ramping up, and I'm seeing in the shear marker there. Let's see. Well, actually, that might be, never mind. That is the one back to the west of Russellville. Okay, so that's a new warning. But before we do that, I just want to take a look at this one real quick, because this one would be one that concerns me, just looking at the radar presentation of it a little bit more. We're about 6,000 feet off the ground. Let's get a little bit closer look, see if High Top's got a little bit better look at the storm. Okay, it's a little bit better look here. All right, it's not quite as menacing looking there off high top. Still a very strong storm, still a severe thunderstorm, and I still think there's possibility that it could have some gusty enough winds that could knock some trees over and things like that. So I still think that's possible with this storm, looking at some of the velocity data coming off of it here. And yeah, we're still showing potentially 50, 60 mile per hour winds. So even, not even just the hail itself, the wind here looks like it's at severe criteria possibly. Although it still may be a little bit of contamination. It's kind of out ahead of the main area, but I mean, you could be getting some good gusts out ahead of this. So again, I would just kind of, if you're near West Point, Vinemont, Lakin, Faultville, you're going to be a little bit north of the wind probably, but you're going to get some heavy rain, maybe some small hail, but at least some lightning and heavy rain. You want to make sure that you are inside, center part of your house. Just be away from windows. Just let the storm pass through. Don't be out and about for sure. But yeah, this is moving down towards Vinemont and West Point, and I think they did just, they may have extended or at least continued the warning there. So it still includes West Point, Vinemont, Simcoe. It's not really extended any further towards the east at this point. I say that, and they just did it. There it is. All right, so they have gone ahead and issued a new severe thunderstorm warning, or extended this one further down towards the southeast. Does include Holly Pond now, and of course still includes Simcoe, includes Fairview. We have a camera in Fairview. Probably need to, that's one we looked at earlier. We'll probably take a look at it again here in a second. Baileyton is in the polygon as well. Joppa. Arab is on the northeastern edge. I would think you're going to probably not get the main effects of this storm. That's the heaviest part of it, and the hail and potentially some gusty winds. But you're still in the polygon there in Arab, so just be aware of that you could have a heavy thunderstorm on your doorstep here within the next half hour or more. And so, again, we've got that warning continuing, and that we'll just take a look at that. That one's going now until 7. So about 35 minutes from now is what this new severe thunderstorm warning that, again, is still in primarily northern Coleman County. Now it also still extends across the southern tier of Morgan County, and then you got a little sliver of western Marshall County in that polygon. Again, when that's where in Arab, that's where you are basically there. And again, that's probably the lesser threat in that polygon, just given the current movement of the storm. But again, just want everybody to be taking precautions because of just some of the history we've seen with some of the other storms earlier today, but definitely a hail threat with that one. So let's take a look back off towards the west. Make sure I don't see anything getting away from me here further to the south. We'll take a look at that northern Tuscaloosa storm here next. We'll switch back over to our Columbus radar here, which is closest to these storms. So this was the one they issued a few minutes ago for the one that's just kind of crossing the state line into, looks like we may have a new severe thunderstorm warning from Birmingham. We'll take a look at that too. Again, this is covering southern Colbert. So similar, this same area, especially Crooked Oak, in Frankfort, places like that. I think maybe your third severe thunderstorm warning here in the last few hours. And so again, that's being included here, including Pleasant Site, Little Bear Creek Reservoir, Bell Green, Red Bay. You're just on the edge of the polygon. I think this storm is not gonna, this storm is likely gonna stay north of you. However, looking back towards the west, if you are in Red Bay, you've got some heavy storms back in Mississippi near Marietta moving in your direction. So just because this one that's got the polygon on it right now, the severe thunderstorm warning polygon, it's probably going to stay north of you in Red Bay, but the ones further to the west are probably going to kind of come straight into you. There's no warning on those now, but they've got some heavy rain and lightning, possibly some hail. So will still be kind of heads up for those as well. But again, yeah, this storm moving towards Pleasant Site at this point. We'll take a look at our velocity product here. Again, the velocity with this one, and a lot of these ones in northwestern Alabama have not looked super threatening, so we're glad to see that. The hail products have been kind of pegging on a lot of these storms. We can see lots of these pink and black stripes across the state, meaning that I think we're getting hail in a lot of places across the state with these storms. So that's definitely there. But thankfully it looks like the wind, not too much with this. But again, White Oak and other places, Cedar Creek Reservoir, and then get along 24 there, especially as you get east of Red Bay, heading towards Russellville, Bell Green, places like that have a better chance of being impacted by this particular cell as it's kind of moving in those directions there with that heavy rain and lightning. And again, just looking further back over towards the one that's now moved east of Russellville, that one's moving towards Tharptown at this point, towards Newburg. Again, it's along 24 east of Russellville with some likely some hail as well. We'll take a quick look at our velocity product. And again, I don't see too much to worry about with that one there as far as the winds are concerned. And then we'll kind of zoom out. It looks like we did get a new severe thunderstorm warning for some of those ones we've been looking at in northern Pickens and northwestern Tuscaloosa counties. So let's take a quick look down at those. So the one, and it may be for kind of a couple different cells here. And it looks like we've got some reports. This is not where I'm looking at now, but just seeing some reports of some small hail in Limestone County in North Alabama. So this storm just has kind of moved through Reform for the most part. I mean, you've still got heavy rain in the Reform vicinity and Coal Fire and back towards Ethelsville. But the main part of this storm that's got the severe thunderstorm warning just kind of moved through Reform. And again, that looks like that's a hail core right there. So it looks like there's a couple of different places that there could be some hail here, kind of near Moore's Bridge, along 171, west of Samantha. Then they're kind of east of Reform, northwest of Gordo, kind of just north, mostly north of US 82, and moving generally eastish, but maybe a little bit of a southeastern component of it. Again, it kind of looks like it'll mostly stay to the north of Gordo, but if you're in Gordo, I still would just kind of be in your house, be in your safe place, just so you don't get hailed on. Don't want to mess with the lightning. And again, we're getting enough rain in these areas. And in fact, I'm saying it just as I look and see that they've issued a flood advisory for these areas. So, yeah, I was kind of expecting we'd eventually see a flood advisory in this area because there's been heavy rain sticking around for a while. And so now we've got a flood advisory that extends kind of for this entire little line here from the state line through northern Pickens County into Tuscaloosa County, northern Tuscaloosa, into kind of the far southern part of Walker County and over into Jefferson County, including Birmingham, Trussville, Adamsville, Oak Grove, Wyndham Springs, Samantha, and Reforming Gordo. Further to the west towards the state line, Ethelsville, Stafford, McShann, Coal Fire. All those places are in that aerial flood advisory for these storms that have just been kind of hanging out and not moving a whole lot over the last hour or two. So again, in these areas, that flood advisory goes until it's like 9:15. So these areas, even if you don't see a flooded street or whatever now, you still could get some of that if you get some rain coming over later in the next couple hours. Just be aware that some of those areas that have trouble draining typically might have some standing water, might have some running water, and it could see the creeks could start to rise a little bit in some of these spots if it stays over those areas long enough. But it looks like mainly street flooding at this point, probably. But again, that could change over time. We'll continue to watch it. But again, as far as the severe threat with this particular area here, looking at the velocity, we're just kind of looking in case we might see anything indicating some wind damage threats. Over there west of Samantha, it does look like there is a little bit of a rotational component happening there. Doesn't look too tight or threatening really at this point, but still, again, given the history of the cell over in Jefferson County, it would be something that I would, we'll just want to kind of keep an eye on west of Samantha. So if you're in Samantha, again, you're in the polygon, you're kind of barely in the polygon, but I would definitely be in your safe place there just in case there's some large, or at least some hail possible in that area. It doesn't necessarily look as large as some of the other areas we've been watching for sure. And it looks like now too, I'm going to switch back over to the Birmingham radar. It looks like we've actually got a cell starting to move into downtown Birmingham here. This one doesn't have a warning on it, but we do have that flood advisory. So we know there are lots of places in the Birmingham area that do have some issues with street flooding sometimes. So there might be a little bit of that if this thing stays around long enough. But again, we don't see any, there's no severe weather with this at this point. We don't see, there's no warning or anything on it. Looking at any of the products here, don't see issues really with the hail, just lightning and heavy rain with this currently there. But moving it over, if you're in downtown Birmingham, you've got some heavy rain starting to move in there. And we've got some also in some of those areas that saw some trees down, saw some damage earlier with that storm that came through a couple hours ago. You're getting rain moving in those areas again with this. But again, right now, this is all just mainly rain. There's not a lot of lightning with it. So these are not something to worry about from that perspective, from damage perspective, as much as you still could have some issues with, especially in areas that got heavy rain earlier. This could exacerbate any sort of standing water or anything going on with that. So that would be something to kind of keep in mind if you're in those areas currently. Now we'll kind of shift over back. I want to kind of take a look at this storm that's in northern Coleman County at this point. And again, that's the one that's kind of keeps catching my eye, just the way it looks. And it's kind of generally by itself, so it's got a little bit better environment probably than other storms that are near to other storms. And so it's continued to look pretty healthy there. And to be honest, it's not, I feel like it's just kind of crawling along. I don't know, maybe it's moving okay. But right now, though, we can see that it's definitely mostly moved into northern Coleman County at this point. Looks like the heaviest probably hail and heavy rain is right over 65 and 31 near the Lakin exit, and kind of extending down towards Vinemont. So Vinemont, you're in it or near it here right now. Highway 157 through West Point. Most of the heavier returns there that were probably going to be a combination of rain and some hail are to your east and to your northeast, and sort of moving away at this point. So things in West Point should be improving here fairly soon. Let's take a look at the velocity again. And again, I have not seen reports that I can speak to for sure yet from this storm as far as wind reports or any sort of damage with that, which is good. I hope that stays that way, but just looking at it over the last 30 or so minutes, I thought it had a similar look to what we had seen with the storm in Jefferson County earlier, but let's hope it stays that way, that it doesn't really produce much, but and also some of it could just be being in a fairly rural area compared to being in a more populated area like the storm was earlier this afternoon. So that could be part of it. We'll obviously know that more as we get into tomorrow. Taking a look at our Skywatcher reports here. I don't think I'm seeing anything. Getting some reports from Josh Burnham about the rain shaft moving into Fairfield. That's that storm I mentioned moving into the Birmingham area earlier. So I've got the big rain moving into Fairfield. And then you've got rain falling in Inslee. Not much in the way of wind. Lightning decreasing. That's good to see from Bryan Falls there in Inslee. So, but again, from these areas here, have not seen much in the way of reports here. So we got an update from the National Weather Service in Huntsville. They're saying they think that the trends have been that the storms have generally weakened a little bit in the last 15 to 30 minutes, but still likely producing quarter-sized hail. But they haven't seen any strong, even though they've been kind of hook-shaped, like we talked about. They're basically supercells that you would see out in the plains a lot of times, where you got big hailstorms. They're supercells, but they don't have a really tight, low-level rotation, and so they're not a huge threat for tornadoes, even though they look like that in a lot of ways. So even though they've got hooks and they've had some rotation, obviously with the end, they're still spinning at the higher levels as supercells do, but they haven't seen any strong rotation towards the surface that supports the risk of a tornado. And again, we don't, and they say the same thing that we've been saying, that we don't really have those ingredients in place to really have that as a widespread issue. So that's good that they're seeing those kind of things as well. And I will say the last few scans of this storm starting to look a little bit more disorganized maybe, and I can also see where maybe the lightning is starting to come down a little bit. and the hail core probably doesn't look quite as mean there, but it's still there for sure. I still think we've probably got at least some small hail falling. And again, you're probably not, if you're driving along I-65, you're probably not watching me right now, but if you happen to be, if you happen to know anybody who's traveling there in between Vinemont and Lacon or in that area, they're going to be driving towards that area right now in the next few minutes. I'd tell them just don't drive through a hail core on I-65 or US 31 if they can avoid it. So yeah, if you're in Hartselle thinking you need to go south right now, or in Fayetteville or whatever, go and driving south on 65. Just don't. See if you can hold off for a second, pull over at a gas station for a little bit, let this pass, and or if you're down in Coleman trying to go north on 65, give it a little bit, let this pass to the east of the interstate, and don't try to. I would, if it were me, I don't want to drive through that. I don't want to drive through hill if I can avoid it. So if you've got the ability to do that, that's what I would recommend at least. And looking up towards the north, just to kind of mention, I think I saw a report earlier, some hail in Limestone County, and I think it's from this storm right here. This one doesn't have a warning on it, but it does look like there probably could be there probably is still some small hail in this storm in Limestone County that is nearing Athens. Looks like there's some lightning getting into downtown Athens. The hail core, though, looks like south of downtown Athens at this point, but you're in the Athens area for sure. Near Tanner, kind of in between Athens and Tanner, over towards Pete's Corner and French Mill. Again, this is another place where this hailstorm is crossing over I-65. So I'd say the same kind of thing. If you're near Athens on 65, you might be running into some really heavy rain, at least here fairly soon, and some lightning. All right, here. So I'm going to just kind of take stock of a few things here. I've been continuing to hear some dings and boops from various alerts coming in. There's been a lot of them. So I'm going to just kind of take a quick scan of things here. And it'll actually probably be good let's take a look at a few cameras here. I'm going to pull up the Coleman one. And I need to verify that we're pointed in the right direction here. That's not what I want. Oh, sorry, John. I'm just now seeing your message about taking Fairview. Well, we'll try to take Fairview here in a second. Let's see. Pull up links 1.
You got it. Oh.
And let's see if you can pull up Fairview on links 1. I've got Bill Murray is here. Bill Murray is in the building, so you may be able to see him back there behind me there. So he's pulling us up to Fairview. Okay. Now this may not be. There we go. Still got some lightning, so it's dark obviously, but we're kind of in the middle of the thick of things here, and so you can certainly see lightning. Now, actually, let me switch back. I'm gonna leave it on Fairview there, Bill, but I'm gonna switch back to links 2. We're looking at the Coleman camera now, and I've just noticed that the flag's really whipping there in downtown Coleman. So you can see the American flag on the right-hand side of the screen. It's really going, and it looks like gusts are up to 37 miles per hour off of our sensor there at the Coleman camera. See some lightning there as well. I'm going to kind of look at my map here and just kind of verify where I am in relation to that storm from these cameras. Yeah, so from the Coleman camera, we're looking kind of up from the southwestern part of the storm, looking back into the storm towards the northeast as the storm's kind of moving north, mostly north of Coleman. The Fairview camera is more kind of in the northeastern part of the storm, but still north of the core of the storm. And so you're kind of in the middle of some really heavy rain there, whereas in Coleman, you're kind of right on the edge of that, but definitely got some gusty winds there for a second. So we'll kind of hold here and look at Coleman for a little bit. And yeah, I'm sure you're looking at this, Bill, but I see some stuff from just some of the pictures and stuff. I think Brett sent some stuff in from some of the stuff earlier. So some of that you may want to pull in and just have it ready at some point for us to take a look at.
Yeah, we're gathering a whole lot of social media and some pretty impressive hail pictures, as you know. Thank you for the job you've been doing all afternoon. And covering this. But yeah, there's a tremendous amount of content here.
And I apologize, I haven't been able to put a lot of that up here yet. But again, now that we've got Bill here who specializes in that, we'll be able to show you some more of that here in a little bit once he kind of gets things ready. But yeah, we've got, and just so I've put, just so you know, again, this is just inside baseball here, that chaser content folder. I've got some stuff that I threw in there already from some of the Skywatchers and stuff. So if you want to look through some of that, you've got some of that too, Bill. Yeah, we want to for sure, once we get to a point where we can, maybe we got a lull, maybe we can get some of these warnings to drop off, we can get the storms to kind of die down a little bit. We'll see if we can take a look back and look at some of the pictures from some of the damage that, again, we know we certainly had some in Jefferson County. That's the main place we know of right now that's been seen some actual wind damage, and it looks like, again, maybe a pretty small little tornado damage. The rest of the reports generally that I've seen have been, hail reports. That's been the vast majority of it, I think. And then there's been some minor flooding here and there as well. But certainly the hail has been kind of the story for most of the storms across most of the areas that are seeing the storms at this point. And again, I think we'll see once Bill gets his stuff kind of pulled up. A lot of the size of the hail I've seen has been fairly, there's been a good bit of small hail, large amounts of small hail. Some of the pictures that we'll show you hopefully will be some of the areas that's got some of the damage where you've got hail that looks like snow on the ground, basically. There's so much of it. But there's been some larger hail too at my house, actually. My wife sent some picture of some, decent, nickel-size hail potentially. And we definitely, and again, there's been some reports, especially in these northern storms, of hail up over an inch and a half, inch and a quarter, or inch and 3/4. So we've had nearly 2-inch hail potentially in some of these spots. So I'm eager to see, Bill, if we see some pictures that seem to indicate some of those kind of sizes. Because so far, I don't know if I've seen much in the way of pictures that have shown that. But like I said, at my house, it was loud for sure.
Yeah, there's no question. I'm seeing a lot of golf ball sized hail from Russellville recently. We're getting a lot, like you said, a lot of large accumulations of hail where it almost looks like snow that has accumulated on the ground from places like Molton and Vinemont. This is pretty impressive. Not unusual in a springtime, late winter, early springtime system when you've got a lot of cold air aloft. That you get a lot of hail like this. So, not surprising. And fortunately, we're not dealing with as many tornadoes. Of course, we know, Drew, that we've had a tornado in northern Jefferson County, but there's a new severe thunderstorm warning right there. And
yep,
we just got this new severe thunderstorm warning that is until 7:45 for northeastern Blount County in Alabama for that severe thunderstorm that's near Coleman, moving to the southeast at 35 miles an hour.
All right, so we'll take a look at that. I'll go ahead and we'll switch back to radar here. Okay, so that's that storm. So that's a new warning for the storm that, again, I've been keep watching. The one we were just looking at it on the camera too, the one that's near Coleman and moving towards the southeast. So yeah, that's a brand new warning for that storm that's been issued by the Birmingham Weather Service, right?
That's right.
And let's see here what they're putting on there. Yeah, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, possible quarter-size hail. So this would include places like Aniana, Blountsville. Let me go ahead and just zoom in a little bit as we're talking about it there. Aniana, Blountsville, Holly Pond, Cleveland, Altoona, Sneed, Susan Moore, Walnut Grove, Rosa, McLarty, Strawberry, Brooksville, Chambleys Mill, Fowler Spring, and Hendricks. Those are all places within the polygon there. And like I said, also, I think that's kind of really for the Blount County part of it, but obviously, as we're still talking about eastern Coleman County, Holly Pond is one of the places that's in the path of this as it's heading towards Blount County here. And again, looks like the southern edge of it has, kind of glanced Coleman itself with the heaviest rain and then also hail moving to the east, now located along, looks like 278 there, US 278, and also kind of extending up Highway 69 towards Simcoe. And we just got another.
Yeah, that one's for Madison and Limestone.
Okay, that's probably that Limestone storm we were looking at earlier. So we'll take a jog up there. And your lights lighting up like a Christmas tree out there in the northern half of the state. And again, South Alabama, things are quiet right now. And we still, I think, kind of expect and hope that as things move to the south, we will lose some intensity and it'll just be mainly a rain and lightning kind of deal by the time it moves further into South Alabama later tonight and into tomorrow morning. And that's still kind of what it looks like, I think. I haven't looked at the latest models. We've been focused on the storms as they're happening. But that's still kind of what I think we would expect at this point as we lose the heat of the day and everything. But we'll continue to watch things here and watch the trends, obviously. But again, just kind of talking about this one real quick, and then we'll move some of the other ones that are around. So again, this is moving near Berlin there along 278. And we'll take a quick look at the velocity again here. Yeah, and it keeps showing. And again, we have not, I would think we would be getting some reports in this, especially with this one kind of now moving past the Coleman area. If there were major wind issues with this one, I think we would be seeing some reports of that. I don't think I am seeing that at this point quite yet. I'm just kind of scanning through here and seeing if any of that is there. But I think it's still really more of a hail threat with this storm. So I'm not seeing widespread reports of wind issues with this one at this point. Now, I will say it looks like we've got one of our sky watchers near the storm, kind of in the northern part of the storm, Jason Rayleigh. He's at Highway 36 and Ryan Road. I think he's kind of in the northern part of this storm and kind of sitting in this area, and he's getting heavy rain, constant lightning. What you'd expect, but again, you're kind of out of the core. You're not in that core part of the storm where you would be getting the hail necessarily there, but I would appreciate that report there from Jason. Looks like we got more severe thunderstorm warning. So let's go take a look at the one here that just got issued for Limestone and Madison counties. So again, we talked about this one earlier. It looks like it went ahead and kind of moved further towards the north and jogged up through Athens actually here. So as we were looking at other storms, this one it was starting off kind of just south of Athens a few minutes ago. And then it looks like some of that hail probably did push right through downtown Athens, through Cottonwood, and is now kind of moving off towards the east. So again, around French Mill, Fairmount, and kind of the eastern part of Athens there is where you've got some of the heaviest rain and probably some hail at this point. And moving over towards Capshaw and then some of the places in western Madison County. And let me kind of pull this back up properly here. So this is moving. So the places in the polygon, let's just kind of take a quick look at that. Again, this is going to include a lot of the Huntsville area, especially kind of Huntsville itself, the downtown and kind of the northern part of the Huntsville area. So the polygon includes places like Capshaw, Cliff Farm, the development there along US 72, kind of the northern part of Madison. The actual kind of downtown Madison, if you want to call it that, is right to the south of the edge of the polygon there. So a good portion of Madison kind of right there next to 565 and south of 565. You're good. The airport is getting some rain, but it's south of this. But the heaviest part of this is going to stay mostly, I would say, north of 72 at this point and moving towards Monrovia. So again, Capshaw, Monrovia, Harvest, places like that. It's moving in that direction in western Madison County. So again, East Limestone into western Madison County, the County Line Road area, Old Railroad Bed Road area, Nick Davis roads, places like that. Those are in this in kind of the threat area for potentially some hail within. Again, looking like mainly hail and a lot of lightning and some heavy rain with this. Velocity values are not looking suspicious really. And again, I think we see some sideload contamination there. But this really looks more like a heavy rain and hail threat with this particular one. But again, moving as it moves to the east, it'll eventually be moving near the Mid-City development there near Research Park Boulevard and 72 through the Research Park itself. Although again, I think probably just getting clipped by that. It looks like the heaviest part, the hail itself, again, probably stays north of 72 and threatens more kind of the western Madison County area. Eventually, it looks like it'll probably, the main part of this will stay north of downtown Huntsville, most likely, even though it's in the polygon there. But moving towards Normal, Alabama A&M campus, Meridianville, places like that, I think have a decent chance of getting this storm over in that direction here in the next 30 or 45 minutes. Here's some more warnings coming in. I don't know, Bill, if you've seen what those are.
Yeah, a couple of minutes ago we had a severe thunderstorm warning issued for southern Franklin, and now the Weather Service in Huntsville just issued a new severe thunderstorm warning for central Franklin and southwestern Lawrence County. And then a third severe thunderstorm warning just issued for that core in northeastern Coleman County that has almost 2-inch hail on it, Drew, that is drifting southeast toward Blount County. But in order to accommodate that southeasterly drift, the Weather Service in Huntsville has added a new polygon on the southern end of the existing severe thunderstorm warning. So right now it's kind of, whack-a-mole to try to keep up with the rather erratic movement of these cores. But right now the strongest part of that storm in Coleman County is approaching Holly Pond, and it's moving out of the southern side of the original polygon and drifting down, to the north of Hanceville, and kind of heading toward Blountsville there. So, Blount County, get ready. Gary Goggins at the Weather Service was saying that they included the northern tip of Blount County in that warning, and the core is going to miss them now. So that's good news. That was kind of the course of least regret there. You'll get some extremely heavy rain, maybe some small hail in places like Summit. But, really Brooksville to the south, that's where the main threat of that storm is going to be in Blount County.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And we're zoomed in on that now, Bill, and you can see what Bill was talking about there. I circled it earlier where they added in that part of the warning there kind of to the southeast of Coleman. Includes Hanceville. It's just to the south of Berlin there. And again, you can see as this drifts towards the southeast, it still looks like, again, we're talking about whether, Coleman County versus Blount County. There's your county line right there. And Blountsville's right here along 231. It looks like that hail core could drift down towards Blountsville here within the next, 20 or so minutes, 20 or 30 minutes. So if you're in that area, I would certainly be in your house, in your safe spot, just to kind of get out of the hail basically at this point. And again, we're still, I still continue to see occasional issues, I just don't know. That may be contamination there. It kind of looks like it could be, but we're seeing, some of the velocity values trying to show up on this storm are pretty high. So I don't want to completely discount it, but I don't want to overreact to it as well. But again, there is a severe thunderstorm warning on it. So, that falls within gusty winds that could knock down trees, falls within the realm of possibilities of this, and it certainly has really large hail. I think is looking very likely with this, with some of the reports we're seeing. So certainly, if you're in these areas we're talking about here, we just want you to be in your safe spot. Don't be out and about. At least one thing I'd say, it looks like maybe the lightning might have come down a little bit from earlier, but it still has a large hail core with it. And again, that's moving really close to Holly Pond as we speak. Now, I actually need to switch my radar site. Probably would help me here. Get me a little bit closer to the core of the storm. Okay, that helps a little bit. Make it not look quite as scary. Okay, that's a little bit more realistic there. So we're looking. I was looking off the Columbus radar. I didn't switch my radar site properly earlier. So, but still, I mean, I'd say that this, looking at the velocity with this, we're still seeing 50, 60 mile per hour winds are possible. So what I showed you earlier, I got a little concerned. That was from a radar that's further away, and you're hitting the storm a little bit higher up. So it might have been seeing some pretty hefty winds there higher up above the ground that aren't going to be able to reach the ground at that sort of speed. But it still looks like, again, we're severe thunderstorm warning, winds 58 mile per hour or higher are possible. And so that's certainly what we could see here in the area of, again, kind of mainly north of Huntsville and moving through Holly Pond. I mean, the core of this will be moving through Holly Pond soon, Blountsville eventually. Like Bill said, I think Brooksville is going to be kind of getting clipped by it probably. It'll be near enough that you just need to be in your safe space there too. Liberty, as well as we further head into Blount County here. You're going to be, Aniana is not in the polygon. It's really close to the edge of the polygon right now. Susan Moore, Hendricks, places like that. Along Highway Alabama 75, those areas may eventually get the storm there as well as it kind of drifts towards the southeast. So again, I'd say next 30, 45 minutes, that's possible. Okay, so I'm hearing some more warnings there. I will say now, just as a comment here on the general trend, it does look like some of the storms in the central part of the state have waned a little bit. We still have the severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 7:15 for kind of northwestern Tuscaloosa County and eastern Pickens County. But outside of that, to me, it looks like a lot of the stuff in central Alabama has kind of died down a little bit, and it looks like really a lot of the action is in North Alabama at this point, as far as just the storms that look the most menacing, I would say, at this point. Bill, did you have something?
Yeah, you got new severe thunderstorm warning there from the Weather Service in Huntsville for Limestone. New severe thunderstorm warning, let's see, that was for Limestone and Lauderdale. And good reports of hail coming in from Athens at this point. If you can take WEX 05, Drew, I think I've got it pulled up here. This is for our friends who might be attempting to or thinking about going on I-65. Right now you got a lot of hail, and the report is that, the road is very icy. And you've got fog developing, which we see a lot of times in, warm, relatively warm, humid conditions. The road becomes relatively, becomes rather foggy, and that reduces visibility. So it's not a good time to be driving on I-65. So you can see a lot of traffic there. This is near exit 316 between Coleman and Lacon, which, you see ice on the road, fog, lots of traffic, just not a good time to be driving. So it would be advisable to, it would be advisable right now to avoid that area for sure. This is wedding ring size hail. Drew, I don't think I've ever seen wedding ring size hail, but that's a great way to show it right there. And that's a very attractive wedding ring. But this hail right here was from Athens just a short time ago. So you can see that's pretty good sized hail right there. This hail is from Russellville, a little bit earlier. We have gotten a ton of pictures of hail from Russellville. This is from South Vinemont, just north of Coleman, a little bit ago. And this is the hail, literally covering the ground at Russellville. More of that same hail, a little bit larger than P, between P and marble-sized hail. There you can see very large amounts of it on the ground. That's one of the larger pieces I've seen, an aggregated piece there that is that. And you showed this earlier, Drew. You were on the air when our Skywatchers were reporting this tornado on the ground in Trussville, and we've got other reports of damage. So I think this is going to be, a real tornado that touched down in Trussville, and the radar, actually showed it. So you were covering it live when it was touching down in northeast Jefferson County. So it has been one of those days. As James has taught us for a very long time, when it comes to thunderstorms in Alabama, expect the unexpected.
Yep, that's for sure, Bill. We'll go ahead and switch us back over to the radar here, and yeah, appreciate you showing us that. So yeah, I'm so thankful that Bill's here now to actually to get us some of your content on here, because again, when I was trying to do it all at once, it was kind of hard to get it up here. So appreciate Bill that you're here to kind of be able to show off what you guys are sending in, and we really appreciate you all sending in the content, our sky watchers, people sending in through social media. That really just helps to kind of tell the story here. And yeah, I mean, today we knew there was a chance of getting some active weather, but I definitely would say things have sort of overperformed a little bit here. And the hail threat for sure has certainly verified with this system. So again, we're looking at a decent number of severe thunderstorm warnings in especially North Alabama at this point, primarily in the kind of the Tennessee Valley area and nearby. And we'll get that one warning down in Tuscaloosa and Pickens County. We'll take a look at that in a second, but I do just want to kind of focus on where we've got the most action right now. Again, we'll take a look. We haven't really looked at this one a whole lot yet. I wanted to talk about the warning that's been issued for Lauderdale and in kind of the northern part of Limestone County. So this is it's east of Killen. So if you're in Killen, it looks like Killen's actually in the polygon there, which it was nearby when the polygon was issued. But if you're in Killen, it's to the east of you now. You're fine there. But really, Lexington there along 101 there in kind of the northern part of Lauderdale County near the state line. That hail is going to be coming into Lexington here pretty soon. It looks like within probably the next 5 or 10 minutes. There's not as much lightning with this one as we've seen in other ones, for sure. That's good. If we can kind of have a trend where maybe the lightning starts to die down some, that might help us a little bit here, but we're still seeing some just really intense hail cores with this despite not seeing a ton of lightning. Again, looking at our hail product here, this shows the core of the hail kind of sitting to the west of Lexington right now along County Road 36 and 33, kind of in between US 43 and Lexington, east of Green Hill there. And then again, the swath of it, you can see this again shows where it's been over the last hour. And you can see that it's been near Zip City, north of St. Florian. It stayed north of Florence with this particular cell when it moved through. So it kind of looks like it sort of clipped the northern side of Florence. I'll try to go back a little bit further. So you got some heavy rain, you got a few showers in Florence within the last hour or so, but really the heaviest part of that storm didn't really develop until it kind of moved north and east of Florence. So you kind of got spared there in the Florence and Muscle Shoals area for the most part so far. And again, yeah, the heaviest part of this storm moving towards Lexington, but this polygon also includes Anderson. Rogersville, you're just to the south of the polygon, so you're good. Further towards the east as we get into Limestone County, kind of northwestern Limestone County, Mount Roselle, Cairo, Elkmont, as well as you get closer to 65, Leicester, those places. Eventually, Ardmore. Ardmore, basically the southern part of Ardmore, in the state of Alabama, is in the polygon there, and so eventually it may be that this gets to Ardmore if it keeps itself together over time here. So we'll do a quick. So we're moving about. All the storms are kind of generally moving at sort of a 30, 35 mile per hour range, depending on. Some of them kind of been drifting and doing some weird stuff, but generally they've had a component of about around that sort of speed. So I'm going to do a quick track on this real quick, just to kind of give a general idea of what we're seeing with the arrival times here. So Lexington, looks like it'll be in the next 5 or 6 minutes that you'll probably start to get some heavy rain at least. Lightning's around right now. Some hail most likely here over the next 10 or so minutes. 7:17 around Anderson, Cairo around 7:30, Mount Roselle around 7:31, Leicester around 7:36, and then Elkmont may not be until about 7:50 that you would have the storm nearby. Again, depending on the exact trajectory of the storm, you may not get the heaviest part there in places like Elkmont, but we'll continue to watch it now. Moving over further to the east, just want to talk about this storm over here that's still in east. It's starting to move out of eastern Limestone. It's mostly kind of, the hail core is kind of mostly in West Madison at this point. And again, it looks like the heaviest part of it with potential for the hail is kind of just to the south of the main part of Harvest. Again, kind of in the between Harvest and Monrovia, kind of the Harvest-Monrovia area. Again, in places like near just to the north of Nick Davis Road, near Walter Highway, starting to move towards Highway 53 there. And again, old railroad bed is kind of right along there, just to the east of the county line. Nick Davis, as you move back into Limestone County, it's mostly north of there now. If you're along Nick Davis, kind of heading towards Athens, everything's kind of moved off away from you now. I know there's a good bit of development out that way, so that's good. Again, Cliff Farm, where you've got a new restaurant just about every week, it seems like. It's moved to the east of there, and so that's good to see. Capshaw, things have kind of moved off to the east. And then again, it looks like certainly the core of this, I mean, yes, downtown Huntsville's getting a little bit of rain, but the core of this storm is certainly going to stay north of downtown Huntsville and a lot of it at North Huntsville as well. So really towards Meridianville, maybe, looking at the current trajectory of the storm, may even glance Tony, heading kind of in the direction potentially of Hazel Green. Hazel Green is in the polygon in North Madison County. Meridianville for sure. Newmarket maybe eventually as well. And so again, those will be areas with this particular storm that might get some hail, some heavy rain here shortly. Okay, so I heard, I don't know, Bill, did you see what those last...
Northeast tip of Winston issued by Birmingham.
All right. Okay, so that's for the cell here that's kind of just to the southeast of Molton. All right, so let's just assess real quick where we want to get our radar data from on that one. Let's see here, kind of right there in the... We'll go back to high top maybe. So yeah, this particular one, this is one that we've been looking at for a while. The one that was originally near Russellville. I'm starting to lose track. There's been so many of them. Moved kind of mostly south of Molton. Molton certainly got some heavy rain out of this within the last 20 minutes or so. But now the core of this is kind of south of Coleman, or not Coleman, Molton. Does look like we've gotten, let's take a look at this storm report here. So this was a storm report to just kind of between Molton and Wren along 33 there, along Highway 33. That's 1 inch hail that was reported there near Molton in Lawrence County. And so again, we continue to get ground truth reports of large hail with these storms. Also, this is not this storm, but I will just mention we talked about Blountsville earlier with the storm heading in that direction. I see a Skywatcher report from Chris Harkins in Blountsville of hail occurring, pea-sized hail occurring there right now. Also from Joshua Secca in Blountsville, was seeing nonstop lightning and thunder from in Blountsville with that storm. And looking back to the storm to the north in North Huntsville, there are a lot of lightning being reported from Krista Hahn in Madison County around Harvest. And that is just some of the reports we're seeing from our Skywatchers. But kind of turning our attention back here, again, this is we've looked at this area earlier today with the other storms that have come through here. In fact, I'll kind of scroll it back just in the last hour. There was that big storm that we were watching earlier that moved through. Now we've got another one. Doesn't look quite as menacing, thankfully, but we got a severe thunderstorm warning for it. Again, it's going to be some of the same areas that we saw earlier, moving through Piney Grove again. Looks like Danville, you've got heavy rain right now. Speak, you've got heavy rain, but the core of this is mainly going further to your south. Piney Grove, though, looks like the main place we might see something. The velocity, as far as hail is concerned, velocity doesn't look too threatening with this. Looks like mainly heavy rain and hail potential with this storm. And again, that what was added into it, like Bill mentioned, was just that northeastern sliver of Winston County, which as we zoom in is you've got Mount Olive Road, you got the National Forest roads, but there's County Road 50, but not a ton of population there, but again, some of those areas along County Road 50 and County Road 125, some of those areas are in that polygon, but it probably will go kind of mostly to the north of there. Eventually, though, this is heading kind of in the direction of West Point, Vinemont, again, like previously in the last hour or two. But looks like Falkville, Lake, and those areas will get rain with this, but maybe not necessarily hail. And Hartselle at this point, again, you kind of missed out on the worst of the storm earlier. This one isn't as strong as that previous storm anyway, and it looks like Hartselle will get some heavy rain and a little bit of lightning, but it's not looking too threatening in Hartselle itself. However, it is still in, I will say, I'm saying that as I'm looking and seeing that Hartselle is in the polygon there, and I guess I do see a little bit of a hail core there just to the west, maybe a hail core just to the west of Hartselle. That doesn't look anything like some of the ones we've been watching earlier today, this afternoon, and this evening. But yeah, you're still in that polygon in Hartselle. But yeah, thankfully, it doesn't look as rough there. Now that storm, that continues to be a really strong looking storm further back towards into northern Blount County, near Blountsville, where we're getting those reports. And I see there a video from one of our sky watchers. And again, Bill, if you've got anything you want to throw up there, let me know. I do see this is from Michael Oden in Adiana with a hill. It looks like it's more of a really short video. Yeah.
Yeah, on Bullard Road.
Yep.
Yeah, real short.
Bullard Road. Yeah. So again, we're definitely getting hail in Huntsville. Looks like Brooksville as well. Holly Pond. We were talking about you earlier. It just went kind of straight through Holly Pond. Don't know if I've seen any specific reports from Holly Pond itself. I don't know if we've got it, or I haven't seen anything from any of our sky watchers actually directly in Holly Pond that I can see. And I'm looking to see if we've got anything in any of our other Weather Service chats. And I will say, and this is from Gary Goggins, National Weather Service in Birmingham. He was telling the people in Blountsville to take shelter, basically. So I would say with this storm, we'll go ahead and we'll echo that. Just the possibility for some large hail with this. Also, certainly looking like velocity is starting to tick up again too. I definitely think in Blountsville, and it's kind of already passed through, but Royal, Susan Moore, it looks like now. Hendricks along US 75. So if you're in Sneed there, kind of to the southeast of Brooksville, Sneed, Susan Moore, Hendricks along US 75, I would definitely be taking shelter there now. Again, this isn't a tornado warning. It's a severe thunderstorm warning, but these, we've seen storms today that have been able to do some damage and knock some trees over. And this definitely has some large hail with it, lots of lightning. So again, I would go ahead and be in a safe spot in those places along US 75 as this very strong and severe thunderstorm moves in that direction. And again, it's kind of just now starting to clear the east Blountsville. There's still some hail, it looks like, in the eastern part of Blountsville, just to the east of 231. Still maybe some lingering hail there right over 231 Main Street. They're kind of running through downtown Blountsville. Liberty, you're right underneath it right now. You need to be in a safe place there. Again, as far as kind of being able to prepare a little bit further out, Sneed, Susan Moore, Hendricks, you're kind of directly in the path probably in the next 5 or 10 minutes. Walnut Grove, eventually along 278 here. You're getting some rain right now, but eventually you'll likely be getting into this as well. Now the polygon doesn't extend past that yet into Etowah County, but we'll see. It certainly could. We'll just see what the Weather Service decides to do with that. If we do continue to get reports, and again, we've certainly seen our own reports from our sky watchers. But good to see. I will say that so Brian Falls, I know he does a lot of scanner work for us with the sky watchers. Is saying he's not hearing anything from Blount County 911 related to weather calls as of yet. Bill, you got something?
You could have baseball-sized hail going into
really
Blountsville.
Yeah.
There are 2 cores there.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen a 3-inch hail marker in a while. But you could be approaching at least baseball-sized hail there. You could be even larger, because that's 2 significant hail cores, and they could be merging there.
Well, speaking of that, if you look at our radar, we've got our threat detector product from our friends at Barron, and it's estimating 3+ inch hail. Now, I will say this product sometimes can be a little bit of an overestimate, but in these kind of situations where we've seen constant verification of hail all afternoon, all day, and some large hail at that, if you're seeing that kind of thing as well, I think it's certainly possible we're getting some very large hail in some of those areas right now.
Yeah, I'm scanning, diligently for any reports out of Blount County, and I'm not getting any so far, but the radar is clearly showing that.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the strongest VIL indications, the vertically integrated liquid, that I think I've seen all afternoon and evening. You've been on the radar consistently. I haven't, but that's a really impressive looking signature right there, Drew.
Yeah, and we're taking a look. Should have done this before now. Probably there's been lots of hail to look at. We could have done this with, but we're looking at the 3D radar here, and don't do this a whole lot because sometimes it can be kind of hard to tell where things are. But just to kind of drive home the point about how impressive these storms are, that all that pink you see there, more or less is likely hail that's aloft in the storm. So this is a really large hail core, and you're seeing how it's kind of like it stretches out up and over. So you've got, if you're in Sneed and Hendricks and places like that right now, good chance you've got hail kind of just sitting there aloft, up thousands of feet above your head, being held up by the updraft of the thunderstorm, and then you see it kind of reaches to the ground down in Blountsville. So you can kind of see that sort of that tilt of the updraft of the storm there, and just really kind of impressive looking storm to look at in 3D there, to see just how much.
You're looking at exactly what we talk about when we talk about organized updrafts.
Mm-hmm.
That's the wind shear tilting that storm. You're showing us graphically, why we are concerned when we have wind shear, because the winds are increasing with height there, and that storm is tilting, so that allows it not to choke on its own updraft. And that's why it's very organized, that's why it can grow, and that's why it can build big hail. And that's why we're concerned about it.
Yep, absolutely, Bill. That's a great explanation of what you're seeing there. And that's why sometimes we do want to show this kind of stuff, even though sometimes you can just say, it just looks pretty, but looks cool, but it really does kind of help tell the story of why we're seeing things that we're seeing with it at the ground. And I'm just kind of curious as I kind of move this through time here. I need to make the little domain a little bit bigger, but sometimes what you can see with these is that you can kind of see as the hail cores kind of are suspended and then eventually drop at some point. A lot of times you'll see that, and you can see downbursts and things like that when you watch it over the course of time. So that can be, I'm just going to kind of make this a little bit of a bigger view here so I can kind of watch it a little bit over the last hour or so. But it's been you really haven't seen it change a whole lot, to be honest. It looks like it may have sort of collapsed right as it gets in the domain there near Falkville, Vinemont, Eva, and then it's kind of reorganized the updraft a little bit here maybe, and just continues to be really rough looking and strong looking there. It's quite a storm for sure.
Yeah, I think that reflectivity has even gone a little higher. It's 76.5 decibels, almost 80 decibels now through there between Blountsville and Hendricks. So that is substantial, So we're not warning of a tornado here. We're warning of hail.
Mm-hmm.
And this is moving toward Hendricks. Going to stay north of Rosa and moving toward Alabama 75 there. Clarence, from Sneed down to Clarence, down to Hendricks. We don't want you driving right now, and we want you to be, in a safe place, in the middle of your house, just away from windows as this big storm rolls through. If you got a chance to put your car in the garage or under a carport or whatever, that's a great idea. Well, don't be running out to do it at the last minute, but if you've got time, go ahead and do that. And Drew, I've got some hail pictures for you. When I get a second here, I'll pull that up if you would like to see them.
Yeah, absolutely. We can do that in a second. Are you ready here fairly shortly, or do you need a second?
I just need 1 second.
Okay.
To
while you're doing that,
Lex 05.
I'll mention, he didn't have a picture, I don't think, at this point, but just talking about the hail in and around the Blountsville area. And this is from Joshua Secca, who I think is actually in Royal, which is just to the east of Blountsville. He had strong wind and rain earlier, just in the last few minutes, and then he had hail starting to fall. He was going to try to get a measurement once it's safe to actually get one, but obviously you don't want to get out there and try to get it while it's actively falling. Large hail is not something you want hitting you in the head. Also, looks like we've got a report I believe coming from the scanner from Bryan Falls, that Liberty Road, Martin Road, and Blount County, there's a tree down there blocking the road. So again, it looks like we at least do have some evidence of some wind knocking down some trees, although it really has been a lot of the hail. That's been the main thing here with most of these, most recently at least.
And if you want to take WEXO 5, Drew, I think I've got it pulled up here. Make sure
All right,
it shows up
here.
like it's supposed to.
All right.
And there is some large hail from Holly Pond in Coleman County from just a short time ago, about 3 minutes ago. So that shows what is still falling in that area right there just from a couple of minutes ago. That's the big storm that is now rolling through Coleman County. This is a copious amount of hail earlier. We have just literally hundreds of photographs from Russellville. And here is a video from West Point in Coleman County showing the large hail as it was falling with the heavy rain and the lightning. So, and Drew, I brought you some fried chicken and so I can take over the radar in a few minutes for you. You've been a warrior up there on this. This is from Russellville from earlier. Again, just a beautiful photograph of some hail there. This is from Crane Hill in Coleman County, looking back toward Morgan County, and look at that lightning, Drew. That is, I noticed that driving in this evening. The lightning in Jefferson County was impressive, especially to the west of downtown Birmingham, and luckily that kind of weakened a little bit. This is the parental pride shot of the night. 13-year-old Will Daniels in Vestavia, his mom sent this in, and that's a shot right there.
Yeah,
that's a keeper. I tell you what, this would make you proud in January if it were snow.
Yeah.
That is in Russellville, but it doesn't make you very proud when it is when it's hail. This is from Vinemont. I'm sorry, that's Vinemont right there. And that's Vinemont right there. So that's certainly larger than golf balls getting on up there. New severe thunderstorm warning, Drew, there for central Etowah and northeastern St. Clair County now till 8:30 for that storm near Blountsville. The Weather Service in Birmingham calling for golf ball size hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. So I'll let you cover that storm. I think I don't see my polygon yet. You probably got it on Barron already, but new severe thunderstorm warning coming there. I don't know if I've got any other images. Oh, look at there. There's some hail that accumulated near the garage door, and that would make me happy if I were the kid. The cat does not look interested. The cat looks like he wants no part of this. I thought this was a visually stunning image from earlier this afternoon, and again you see the fog rising from the hail there in Cherokee in northwest Alabama, and one last photograph there from Russellville from earlier. And I'll let you take it away, Drew, since you've got the polygon now.
Yeah, no, it's great to see those pictures because again, it's that's just one of the big parts of what we're doing here is we want to be able to show what you're sending and show the ground truth that is happening there, and so. Again, we appreciate you all sending those to it, and appreciate Bill getting those all set up so we can actually show it here. And so, yeah, we're taking a look at this new severe thunderstorm warning. Well, it's new as far as it is being extended further down toward the southeast. Same storm we've been watching the most. Now, I will mention that yes, we still have some other severe thunderstorm warnings, so I don't want to ignore them completely. But I will say that this one looks like the strongest one at this point. But we'll take a look at some of the other ones here in a second. But yeah, looking at this one again, the one that has just moved to the east of Blountsville is now sitting over. We mentioned Sneed and Susan Moore and Hendricks earlier. These areas basically, this strong part, the large hail and the heavy winds are moving over those areas basically as we speak. About to move over Alabama 75 there, moving towards Walnut Grove, Altoona. And again, this has got a considerable tag on it. So the Weather Service has tagged it as a considerable damage threat with the possibility of the large hail and also 60 mile per hour winds possible with it. So again, locations that are included in this. Let me make sure I clicked on the right one. Okay, actually, I saw Gadsden included, and I was just trying to make sure. Okay, so Gadsden's a little bit further down the line, but we'll go ahead and mention that this is for Etowah, Central Etowah County, northeastern St. Clair County. So it does include places like Gadsden, Rainbow City, Attala, Oaks Bluff, Glencoe, Asheville, Steele, Altoona, Walnut Grove, Reese City, Gadsden Mall, Nakalula Falls, Neely Henry Lake, Southside, Alabama International Dragway, Gadsden Steam Plant, Northside, Gadsden Waterworks, Ramsey, and Big Wills Creek. So, so right now it's kind of imminent in the places we've called out. They're in Altoona as well, Walnut Grove, along 278. But as you head down towards the southeast, if it continues to maintain its intensity, it will be heading towards near Steele. And again, that's going back towards, we're talking about getting along the I-59 corridor again, where we talked about earlier. We had that tree down there closer to Trussville. But Steele, Attala, Gadsden itself, and places like that, Lake Neely Henry, the Coosa River, obviously. Asheville looks like it's a little bit to the south of the polygon there. But Bill, do you have something?
Yeah, golf ball and larger size hail reported in Blountsville, according to Blount County EMA, from the National Weather Service. And Drew, just interrogate it from a rotation standpoint and make sure I'm not seeing side lobe or anything. You're much better at that than me, because it just concerns me a little bit. Just give me your opinion on it there for a brief moment.
There are a few scans where, I see that maybe the latest one doesn't look as like that might be the issue as much. But I definitely, this thing's definitely had a little bit of rotation. We're seeing, of course, the radar beam. Are you looking at the BMX radar?
I was on high top, actually.
Oh, you're on high top? Let me take a look at high top real quick. See, from Birmingham, we're about 3,700 feet. From high top,
about
4,500, 5.
Yeah.
So
on this rotation, on this 5 degrees hill.
Yeah, I do think off high top. Not to say there's not strong winds there, but I think some of that, it looks like some of that side lobe.
Yeah, I think so too. I saw that signal and that concerned me.
Yeah,
given the history today.
Right, but again, I mean, it was a similar look for the Trussville, eastern Jefferson County, Pinson, Trussville, Charlottesville kind of area. That storm had some similar look to it, where it wasn't super classic, kind of messy, and it certainly produced some damage. So we don't want to discount that couldn't be possible with this. This is a very strong thunderstorm, and just again, kind of quoting one of our Weather Service friends, and Gary Goggins at the Weather Service in Birmingham, basically saying the storm means business, zero signs of weakening as it heads into western Etowah and northern St. Clair, and he's basically given Gadsden a heads up. As the core of this will be moving very close to downtown Gadsden here, if it holds together. So yeah, it's this one definitely is one that has been a problem for a while now and continues to be that. So again, we just would say these areas we've kind of named off, just go ahead and be in your safe place. Get ready to kind of hunker down for a little bit as this moves through, and certainly don't want to be outside dealing with large hail, even if we're not, again, we're not totally certain. We've got big issues with wind with this, but it's still just not. It's not the kind of storm you want to mess with, and you don't want to be around windows if you have large hail falling. So
and you've got a cell merger that happened there, Drew, and when you get a cell merger like that, that sometimes can, signal that a tornado could happen.
Yep.
So not out of the question.
Yep.
Certainly something to treat this storm with respect as it moves towards your area, even though there is not officially a tornado warning in effect.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm seeing, let's see, one of our sky watchers mentioned something related to Snead. Which the storm just passed through there. And so it looks like this. Yeah, this is Jason Rayleigh. He was in Snead, and he pulled over due to the extremely heavy rain, and he had some small hail, at least, in Snead there. And again, that was that was a little bit more on the northern edge, so it makes some sense that the hail might have been a little bit smaller there versus places a little bit further towards the south. Now, let's take a quick look. Again, I don't want to leave out our friends in other areas where we've got other severe thunderstorm warnings. This one certainly looks like the strongest storm, but we want to make sure we talk about some of the other ones further to the northwest and to the north. I will say though, I mean, it's got flood advisories that we're starting to get issued here. That include places like Russellville and Molton, down towards Falkville, Coleman, Holly Pond. These are areas where these storms, as they start to congeal, hopefully they'll start to weaken as part of that process, which is typical. But the rain threat, the possibility for some flooding, is getting more likely in those areas that are in those flood advisories. So again, as I mentioned, Coleman, Holly Pond, Falkville, Hartselle's kind of nearby, Molton, Russellville, those areas. And then as far as the current severe thunderstorm warnings are concerned, we'll just kind of scroll back here. So we had that storm, and we really haven't, I need to kind of go back and take a look at this one a little bit more here, but it looks like the one that was moving across the state line, moved through Red Bay earlier, moved to the south of Russellville, and moved kind of through Spruce Pine, and then into Phil Campbell. It has since started to weaken. Of course, it looked like it definitely had some hail potential and maybe some gusty winds with it. Does look like, though, it has started to weaken a little bit there. So that's good to see. Again, lots of rain around, but not looking as threatening there as it begins to move into kind of the southern part of Lawrence County. Here is where most of it is now. Now, you look further towards the south, there's no warnings here as we move into parts of Marion County, but there's definitely some really heavy rain there around Guin. Hamilton doesn't really have a whole lot right now, but you're kind of surrounded with it. But Hackleburg, you've got heavy rain, has kind of just moved through. Bear Creek, got some on the way. Again, as we look at Guin, Winfield, you've got the heavy rain with this storm starting to come in here. Again, there's no warning on this one, but you've got some heavy rain starting to move into that area. Again, we've got another, let's switch our radar back over here. And we'll take a look. We've got more coming through. And this was the big one earlier came through, and this is the one we were kind of tracking for a while that's now kind of sitting just to the south. I mean, there's kind of the edge of it is raining in Hartselle. We've got some of the heavier parts of it there that are kind of near Falkville, or just kind of to the east of Hartselle and Fartville. So kind of the eastern parts of Hartselle and Falkville to the east of Interstate 65 and US 31. Looks like near 157 there. You've got a heavier cell there that's near Days Gap Road, and it's kind of right there at the county line with Coleman County, between Morgan and Coleman County. So again, if we kind of look at the velocity with that, just to double check the wind factor, don't really see a lot of concern with that particular one. Looks like still mainly possible hail with this one as well. And if we look at our hail detector product here, again, you definitely see a few little blips in these other severe thunderstorm warnings, but you see the biggest one certainly in the one that we've talked about the most here most recently. As we move further to the south, and I'll switch back to our Birmingham radar, don't see nearly as much in these cells further to the south. Like we mentioned, kind of some of these areas have kind of toned down a little bit further to the south, and a lot of this is kind of shifted into North Alabama. So go back to our reflectivity. Let's switch back to high top. Let's take a quick look again at some of our storms that are in parts of, looks like mainly Limestone now. This polygon that includes Lexington and Lauderdale County. Lexington, you're in the clear now. It's moved east of you. But it does look like Lexington, we talked about this one earlier where it was heading towards Lexington. So that certainly looks like Lexington probably got a little bit of hail with that storm. And it's now kind of moved, and it's basically sitting on top of Lester right now, which is in northwestern Limestone County. So if you're in that area of northwestern Limestone County, you certainly want to be inside for that. But it looks like it's starting to kind of move into Tennessee at this point for the most part. So Elkmont, you'll get some rain from this, but you may not get the heaviest effects of it, hopefully, if it can kind of get up into Tennessee. As far as Ardmore is concerned, again, it kind of looks like it's trending a little bit north where it may not quite hit Ardmore straight on, but you still could see some heavy rain with that, maybe some hail potentially. We'll just have to see where it goes. But hopefully that'll continue to kind of shift up towards the north. As we move to the storm that's in Madison County at this point, again, it's definitely moved into kind of the northern part of Madison County at this point. We talked about, didn't think it was going to threaten Huntsville itself, downtown Huntsville, or anywhere like that, and it hasn't. It's up kind of in between the core of it now, along 231, kind of in between Hazel Green and Meridianville there, near Steger Road, some of those areas there, crossing 231, and moving up towards New Market. So it's very likely that New Market gets some of the heavy rain and potentially some hail at this. Now you can see the strikes though. Again, we're not getting as much lightning off this storm recently. So again, hopefully we'll see that trend continue as it moves further towards the east. And again, we'll see whether the Weather Service decides that it reaches the level of extending the warning or not. I could see where they might let these ride, but again, the hail potential might be large enough to continue it here. Again, we're just kind of looking at some reports here. Let me know, Bill, if you've got anything else that you need to add from any reports you've seen or anything like that.
I saw some, Joshua Secca, picked up some 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch size hail around Royal as he was there. He sent in a picture there. And I think that's our main late report from our Skywatchers from the Weather Service in Birmingham. Copious amounts of hail coming down in Altoona from Blount County Emergency Management, and reports of other just tons of dime to quarter sized hail coming in from Blount County Emergency Management in Susan Moore in Blount County. Hail in Blountsville, some impressive aggregate hail as large as your hand, Drew. So not perfectly round, but probably at least 3 inches in diameter. And some that are about I would say some that are at least 1.5 inches in diameter on a common amount. So it's certainly large hail in that set of storms. And earlier, that storm that moved through Trussville, when it was coming through, that's when you've got trouble in the neighborhood, when that big hail starts coming down. And that's what we saw when that was happening. So the large hail now moving into the city of Gadsden at this point. But fortunately, the signatures have come down a little bit, Drew, it appears to me.
Yeah, I think you're right. We've actually got Gadsden Skycam. We got thanks to John Oldshoe for shooting me a reminder to take a look at that camera. It looks like got some good lightning showing up there as the storm is approaching. Again, Gadsden is in the severe thunderstorm warning polygon for this storm that we've been watching. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Looking at the radar, that looks like it may be trending downwards, or it certainly is trending downwards as far as the hail core. And hoping that's the last gasp of it, as it's got some more, some cells out ahead of it that I think would likely hinder its inflow. In fact, you can kind of see that, and I'm not showing it right now. We'll just look at the camera. But once I get the radar back on here, we'll kind of talk about that, because I can certainly see where some of those cells came up from the south and started to rob some inflow, I think, and that may be helping to kind of tamp this thing down a little bit. But still, maybe not quite the lightning show we've seen earlier, but definitely still seeing some pretty good lightning as it approaches Gadsden. And still, I think it's still probably got some hail with it. It's right now near Altoona, Walnut Grove, kind of just to the southeast of Walnut Grove, near Gallant or Gallant. Which one is it, Bill?
Gallant. Like
Gallant. There we go. And again, there's heavy rain in Attala. Gadsden, you're already getting some of the rain kind of from the blow off of this storm here, but the heaviest part of it still is to come. And it still certainly looks like you could get some really heavy rain and maybe some small hail in kind of Gadsden proper here eventually within the next 10-15 minutes as it moves east. But we'll just kind of see how it trends there. But there's some good lightning there. That was some good cloud to ground lightning coming in from the camera there in Gadsden.
I tell you, our sky cams have just been superstars today. Hats off. Oh, wow.
Yeah, there you go.
Thanks to John Oldshoe and Brad Adair and their teams, Drew Richards, for putting this network together, because it is so valuable to us to be able to look up there, Drew, and see this storm structure especially in the afternoon like we had today. See, this lightning is impressive right here. And wow, you can see storm structure there. You can see the base and you know what's going on underneath the cloud, and that's going to be important on a tornadic day.
Yep.
You know, maybe not so much tonight. It could come in handy, but certainly the lightning underscores the severity of these storms. And as I say that, there's a new severe thunderstorm warning from the National Weather Service in Huntsville for several counties in northeast Alabama, including Jackson, Madison, and Lincoln and Franklin in Tennessee.
Yeah, it looks like they've extended, or they've gone ahead and pushed the warning into Jackson County there for that storm that was in northern Madison County. That was one we were thinking they might not, but I guess they decided Hail Corps was still looking good enough to continue that warning. So again, I'll take a look at that on the radar here in a second. But definitely some impressive lightning out of Gadsden from our Region Skycam there. I don't know what you can see. I'd probably just to take a quick look at it, just for fun. Look at the Nakalula Falls cam. It's usually pointed right at the falls, so we may not see much. But if we can actually get, oh, never mind. Oh, it looks like John's pointing it towards the storm. There you go. Okay.
John is a Skycam fiend. He knows exactly where to point these cameras. When he was pointing Bald Rock today during that East Jefferson St. Clair storm, he knew exactly where to look. Yep. And wow.
Yeah, so you can definitely see the lightning coming in there to Nakalula Falls as well.
And all this with a 59-degree dew point. Just shows what can happen when you've got the right conditions aloft, especially late winter, early spring. And then it's going to happen again in May. You know, when we get a cold aloft system, you know, we're gonna get this big hail, and it just is amazing in Alabama. The atmosphere is an amazing thing, and it can be a scary thing for some folks, and you know that's why we love being here for you in Alabama, folks, because we get to tell you a story. We're not limited. You know, I would have given anything, Drew McCombs, as a child to have this to help me get over my fear of weather. And that's what we want to do here. We want to help you get over your fear of weather. I see somebody's got a bicycle helmet over there, Drew. I don't know if that's your bicycle helmet or if Spann brought that or if that's something someone brought in as a prop. But
that came from our friends at Regions. So I think we'll be using it as a prop.
That is a Regions helmet. Yeah, that's a good thing to have right there because you know that information is the biggest thing for you when you are scared of the weather. And we are not minimizing your fear of the weather because we've all been there. You know, it is something that is very real, and being respectful of the weather is a very important thing. So, you know, tune in here with us. We'll help you get through it. You know, watch the radar with us. You know, as one of our friends, Nick Walker, that used to be at the Weather Channel, always said, don't get scared, get prepared.
Yep, absolutely. That's I think a lot of us that are in weather, you know, came from a background of being scared of it originally, you know, and that's how a lot of us got into it. So I think that's a lot of our mission here. Obviously, is to try to keep everybody safe, but you know, also try to keep your anxiety down as much as we can. But we also there's serious situations, so we want to keep people safe too. So again, some positive trends here. As we mentioned, I wanted to talk about it with the radar real quick, and then I want to go look at that new warning that's extending into Jackson County. But so with this one that's been kind of the strongest storm lately, that had some really large hail, as I mentioned earlier, you know, as it was kind of sitting by itself, it had some pretty good inflow, I think. But as it's continued to move further towards the southeast, note that you've had this rain right here. These cells start to kind of get in the way. And as that cell has gotten closer to those, you've seen a weakening trend in it. Not to say that there's still probably at least some small hail probably in that core there as it's starting to near Gallant and not too far away from Atala and getting pretty close to Gadsden, the western side of Gadsden at this point. But there's definitely been a trend in the right direction, you know, to weaken the storm here lately. And so we'll hope that as it continues to move down towards that other rain, moves towards this kind of dives to the southeast, that we'll finally get this one sort of settled down a little bit because it's been going for a while now. I want look back, we'll take a look and kind of update on some of the other storms. It does look like I think we've had a couple, or at least one, maybe a couple of warnings that have been either canceled or allowed to expire. So we've got less warnings on the board right now. In fact, looks like maybe just 3 warnings within the state of Alabama at this point as far as severe thunderstorm warnings. So that's a positive development, because we've certainly had a bunch of them here for a while. But let's go take a look at the one that's been most recently updated and extended into Jackson County. So again, right now, this cell is in northeastern Madison County, and it has fairly quickly. I feel like this one may be moving pretty fast compared to maybe some of the other ones, because it's now basically in New Market already. So again, if you're in New Market, you're probably starting to get some heavy rain at least. Again, there's not as much lightning with these as the ones further to the south, but there's been some, but it's not a ton compared to what we've seen in some cases with other storms. Looks like it's mostly to the east of Hazel Green at this point. New Market, you're in places in between Hazel Green and New Market for sure. Near Beth Road, Butler Road, Winchester Road, going again back towards 231. But mostly this is kind of cleared 231 for the most part at this point. You're going through Hazel Green, but New Market, you're probably getting some heavy rain, maybe some small hail, and then it's kind of moving over into here fairly shortly into the western part of Jackson County, which a lot of this area here is kind of mountainous and not a ton of population right as it crosses the border, but eventually it'll get into places where you've places like Princeton and Swaim and Estill Fork and towards High Top, where the Radarr is actually located. And so in some of those valleys, you've got people living in a lot of those valleys there. And so it'll be heading in that direction. Those areas are in the polygon for this storm. It does kind of look like just the general movement of it, that it may stay. It looks like it's staying north of a deposit still back in Madison County at this point. Looks like a decent chance it stays north of Princeton, but Swaim, Estill Fork, High Top, looks like it's a decent chance it does make it through those areas. And then a lot of if you are living along Alabama 65 that runs through this part of Jackson County, again, a lot of the population lives kind of off 65 in this part of the county. And then also 79, Skyline, going up to High Top. Those areas, this storm will be there eventually. Now, it does certainly look, Skyline is just right there in the edge of the polygon, but it does appear that this is probably going to go to the north of Skyline and mainly be near High Top eventually over the next 30, 45 minutes. So again, as we take a look at the parameters with this, we've got a hail core for sure. We're seeing a pretty good hail indicator there to the west of New Market right now. You can see here over the last hour that this storm produced hail likely in places close to Athens, Harvest, Tony, around Hazel, kind of to the south of Hazel Green especially, around Pulaski Pike, Burwell Road, along US 53 in between, kind of right there around Tony, and just kind of to the north of Meridianville here. As we look at our velocity, we'll kind of play that back and forth a little bit here. Not too concerning. The last scan, it's ticked up a little bit here, but it's showing 30, 40 mile per hour winds. And we're really close to the radar site. High Top is just over there to the east, and we're about 1,000 feet off the ground with the radar beam right there. So you're getting a little bit of, and again, you'll probably get some gusty winds with this, but it's not looking too menacing at this point. And just kind of double checking again, if you see any reports or anything I need to mention, Bill, just feel free to break in and let me know.
Nothing important coming in. Nothing impressive looking at that. But there's some also something that the very thunderstorm warning are reporting in Coleman. So special weather statement for that.
Okay.
That's good news. I do have one impressive thing if you want to take a picture for a second. When you get to a stopping point on the radar, and I'd love to let you have dinner if you want.
Sure, yeah, we can do that.
Been going several hours.
I do like to eat.
That ever.
Yeah, let's pull up.
Make sure I'm
So you want to wake up 5? Okay. All right, let me pull you up here. And you, if you want to run up there on the wall, you're up if you want to.
Yeah, this is an Oh, sorry about that. I was putting all Drew's food out, and I turned my mic off so I wouldn't be making a lot of sound. But this is when you know you're getting into some, into some really severe weather, when you get big hail going like that. This is from Susan Moore right here. This is hail nearly covering the ground. This is from East Limestone County. This is one of the most impressive videos I've seen so far of just a flurry of hail falling there. That's impressive. And how about this from Danville in Morgan County? Those are pretty big hailstones right there, Drew McCombs. I don't know if you can see those from where you're sitting now, but those are pretty big. Wow. Those are pretty big hailstones right there.
And that was from where now?
Those are from Danville.
Okay.
And that's pretty impressive. This is from St. Florine. Drew, do you know who St. Florine is the patron saint of? Fire and water. And it is definitely water in a frozen variety tonight. I think this is Vinemont. I apologize to our contributor. I did not record it properly, but back to Holly Pond. While my mic was off, I was commenting on some beautiful videos that folks sent. These are some friends in Molton. Make sure I'm green.
Okay. I'm
green, so you should be hearing me loud and clear at this point. So my sound checkers out there, let me know. That would be terrible. I'm on mic 2.
Double checking. I thought I got another message saying that you still.
It might be from a minute ago, but I think let me just walk over here. I see that I'm turned on. I have levels, so I think I'm good. So let me know.
Okay, looks like I think John's saying you're good now.
Thank you, John. That's impressive, but I'm very impressed with this hail drift right here in Molton, and I am very impressed with all of you, the social media contributors out there. Thank you so much. Drew, I'll walk back over there and drive the Radarr for a minute. If you want to pop that back up, I'll do that while you grab some dinner here, and we'll check what all's going on. Luckily, the situation is calming down a bit. We're down to 2 warnings in Alabama. We have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings now in northwestern Mississippi. We've still got to wait for all of that activity to come over this way, but now we're moving more toward a trend of special weather statements. We've got some flood advisories in effect, and and I will be on the air. So thank you very much. And here we are. Thank you so much, Drew. And I'm actually kind of centered on the camera. I'm not as tall as Drew. That's a nice way of saying that. And everything. I feel like Bear Bryant up here with this can of Coca-Cola here, my favorite drink, Coke Zero. But we do have strong thunderstorms now moving through northwestern Alabama. You can see them here through the northern part of the state. And we've got those heavy storms right now moving through Morgan County down into Coleman County. You see them there from south of Owens Crossroads, east of Eva now. down into Coleman. They're approaching Baileyton, getting ready to go through it again in Holly Pond. We've seen lots of reports of large hail there from some of these areas, so you're about to get ready to go through it again. It's not going to be as bad as it was the first time, but you could have another round of small hail. You're certainly going to have lightning, and you're going to have very, very heavy rain, gusty winds. City of Coleman, you're getting ready to go through it again. Have a severe thunderstorm warning for Morgan and for Coleman till 8 o'clock. Right now we are 7:57, so we got another 3 minutes on this warning, about a little less than 3 minutes on this warning as it continues. Have an aerial flood warning, so we want you to be cautious. If you have to go out, have to drive anywhere tonight, we want you to make sure that you're being extra slow with your speeds. Watch for areas on the road that might be flooded. Do not drive into areas that are covered by water, because you don't know how deep that water is, and you do not know the underlying condition of that road. It is not worth taking a chance. We've heard of water rescues today, and folks, that's just unnecessary. Life is too precious for you to take a chance driving your car into a flooded road. So zooming out, we're dealing with 2 severe thunderstorm warnings in Alabama right now. You see some right there north of the Alabama border. Fayetteville, Tennessee, right along I-65, just north of the state line. Our friends there, covered by the Tennessee Valley Weather Channel. Ben Loon and his team do an incredible job, and we appreciate them. Northeast Madison, northwestern Jackson counties. That's what we're going to look at real quick because we have a severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect there. For this cell, it's very close to the radar. This warning's in effect till 8:45. You see the high top radar right here. That's where our sweep is. We like to remind ourselves what radar we're looking at. That's why we keep that sweep going on all the time. You see this area here of darker color on reflectivity. That indicates to us that there might be hail there, because that is the denser echo coming back to the radar. The radar sending out a beam and getting back the reflection from that. That echo tells the radar, that strength of that echo tells the radar how strong that precipitation is. And right here it sees some very strong precipitation, and that tells us that that could be hail. And that is this hail swath that you see that has come all the way back from Limestone County, all the way across northern Madison County, south of Hazel Green, across I-65. I guarantee you, we've seen hail all along this path, sometimes larger than quarters, certainly to severe threshold. For a severe thunderstorm to be severe by criteria, it has to have hail that is 1 inch in diameter. That's the size of a quarter or larger. We've seen that many, many times tonight. Or it has to have winds of 58 miles per hour or greater. Lots of people say, why isn't there a severe thunderstorm warning on this storm? It's a bad storm. Well, it has to meet one of those 2 criteria. And another one that we don't talk about, it might have a tornado on it. Well, when it has a tornado on it, it should have a tornado warning. But here is our severe thunderstorm with its hail coming across northern Madison County. And Drew is doing his best Watusi there. I did not do that when I came in, and I walked right through your shot. But it is now moving into northeastern Jackson County there near our radar, our powerful Weather Service radar near High Top. Checking out the skid on that, this severe thunderstorm moving east at 26 miles an hour. The strongest part of that storm is going to be near Francisco around 8:20, near Swaim around 8:27, and then near Still Fork around 8:29. So tops on that storm, the height of it about 21,000 feet. Drew, a little bit earlier, was showing a really powerful image of that storm leaning over. And that's how it stays long-lived. Not that storm, but a different storm. That's how these really strong storms live for a long time. They stay organized because they have these powerful updrafts. Chance of hail in that storm is 100%, and it could be as large as 2 1/4 inches. So that's kind of what we're looking at with that storm. That's our severe thunderstorm number 1. Our severe thunderstorm warning that was in effect for southern Morgan for northern Coleman expired at 8 o'clock. Right now, that's good news. All the other severe thunderstorm warnings in the state have expired except for the 2 that we have on the board right now. That's this warning right here for Etowah County that goes until 8:30 tonight. That's for this big storm that produced all the hail across Blount County. That's the one that went all the way back Coleman, Morgan, really into Franklin, Russell counties, Russellville, producing hail all along the way. Fortunately, as it came down the mountain, it seemed to weaken a little bit, and as it did. But it still is pretty strong right there in the city of Gadsden and that area in Etowah County. Let's kind of look at that. Strongest reflectivity right now from east of Attalla, right on the Interstate I-59, coming in on the highway into the city of Gadsden, and getting ready. Let's take a quick look at this storm identifier. Moving through the city over the next 10 minutes through the city of Gadsden, be in Glencoe between now and about 8:20, be in Hoax Bluff between now and 8:25. The lightning has really come down over the past couple of hours. It's just great news. That means the intensity slowly dropping. That's the heating of the day, instability beginning to go down, moving directly to the east at 33 miles an hour. It's going to go directly toward Hoax Bluff, going to move near just north of Glencoe, going to be eventually moving onto the east, which will, oh, and I don't want to do that. Let me get out of that mode real quick, clear that off our map, and eventually be moving over into Cherokee County. So repeating, that's a severe thunderstorm warning there for Etowah County until 8:30 tonight. Here's some of those hail reports you see, some of the impressive ones. 1-inch hail there in Molton. We saw it drifted probably to a depth of 2 feet from some of our social media contributors. Hail here, 1 inch west of Hartselle in Morgan County. That was a 1/4 inch hail in Danville. I think we saw some hail in Danville that was as much as 2 inches, maybe 3 inches in diameter from one of the pictures that we had. I just saw Drew do something that would qualify him for one of those Ocean's 11 movies. He could crawl through one of those laser things if he had to break into a casino or something. So if your jewels are missing, check this guy, because he just walked through that shot without ever being visible. So I just learned a lesson of how to do that. But this is one of those hail reports right here, and Drew, I've gotten myself in trouble here because I got to get rid of this hail report.
Just right click.
Right on, click it. Thank you. I still learn Barron every day, but these hail reports go all the way back into northeastern Mississippi. So kind of the bigger picture across north and north central Alabama, we've got heavy rain all through Coleman County, back through eastern, southeastern Winston County, moving into northwestern Walker County now, even into northeastern parts of Fayette County. We've got some heavy rain there in northeastern Mississippi, getting ready to move into western Marion County there, west of Hamilton, near Bexar. It'll be moving down to I-22 toward Guin, toward Winfield, toward Eldridge, and eventually that way. Down here in southern Lamar, we've got a little concentration of lightning there. Let's go take a peek at it. This little cell that's between Vernon and Kennedy, not severe, just putting down heavy rain. Doesn't look like it's got any hail in it at this point, but we're keeping a close eye on it just in case. I don't think it's showing any trends that make us concerned about it in any way at this point. Some cells down there in northern Tuscaloosa County at this point. Nothing, or eastern Tuscaloosa County, not anything that makes us concerned. Just some heavy rain north of the interstate there. West of Lakeview, a little bit of lightning on that cell. We can zoom in here and get you a look at where it is. It's sort of between Brookwood and Abernat, moving over toward Lakeview. It's going to be moving to the east toward Bucksville and Tannehill, up toward McCalla in eastern Jefferson County as well in the next few minutes. Up in the Birmingham area, it's just moderate rain now. We've got this large aerial flood advisory that covers a big area there through western Jefferson County, back into southern Walker County. There are other aerial flood advisories that go back through Tuscaloosa and back through Pickens. That's where we've had that really heavy rain continue through the evening hours. Really, 6-hour rainfall amounts are generally, in some of the areas that have been you know, a little luckier tonight and this afternoon, because we really need the rainfall. You know, some of the better rainfall amounts we've seen are probably approaching 2 inches. You know, we will take that all day long. I think that's some of the better rainfall that we've seen is right there around 2 inches. Through northern, northwestern Tuscaloosa County, northeastern parts of Tuscaloosa County up here. Now, some of this is hail contamination probably through southern Colbert into northeastern parts of Franklin, through Lawrence County. You know, so I might have to take a little bit of that with a grain of salt. But, you know, anything we can take will be good. These 2-inch amounts in here. We'll know tomorrow. You know, we have all these fabulous CocoRa's rain gauges all over. And, you know, the algorithm's correct for a lot of this. And Drew can comment on it in between bites of fried chicken over here tonight, because we got to keep him sustained as he does a yeoman's job here at the network. But you know, these algorithms tell us so much, and help us tell the story to you. But going back to the reflectivity, you can see where the heaviest rain is now all across north and north central Alabama. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning there. Northeast Madison, northwestern Walker County. We'll go zoom in on that cell in just a second. Then we'll come back down here and come back to north central Alabama in just a minute. We'll clear everything off the radar, and I'm even going to take the storm reports off for a second. I'm in the high top radar, so I'm going to go up here and take a really close look at this warning. This severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Madison and Jackson counties goes until 8:45. You see our strongest core there is now between Plevna and Francisco. It is moving directly to the east at about 26 miles an hour right now, according to the computer algorithm. It'll be near Francisco around 8:17, at Still Fork around 8:27, and very near the radar at 8:37. Please leave the radar alone, Mr. Thunderstorm. We would just prefer you to do that. These radars are very powerful, but you know, they're fragile beasts as well, and we need our radar. So let's keep it going. The strongest core there, though, is between Plevna and Francisco, and you can kind of see where that the likelihood that we might still be seeing hail right there along Mountain Fork Road, and we'll put this in motion over the last 15 minutes so you can kind of get an idea, you know, where it's going. And I'll zoom out a little bit so that will make a little more sense to you. You can see the lightning there out ahead of it, just like Drew was showing. That storm is leaning. You know, the updraft is leaning out this way. And that is a powerful image. And that's why, you know, when you look at the radar and you see the, you know, all this precipitation is, you know, in this area right here, you know, the lightning is all out here. And that tells you, you know, hey, you've got to be inside well in advance of the storm, especially with these well-organized, faster-moving storms, because the lightning sometimes can be several minutes, several miles ahead of it. And that's what's going on right here. So along Alabama 65, get ready. You're already in the lightning. You're going to be in the heavy rain. You're going to be in the hail here very shortly. They're near the Alabama-Tennessee border, near Francisco, and hopefully the hail will stay north of Still Fork. All of that beautiful country up there in the mountains in northern Jackson County. See that latest radar scan coming in, and it slides most of the core now is entirely over into Jackson County. It's now moving out of Madison County. So pretty soon the Weather Service in Huntsville will be able to drop the Madison County portion of that warning. So that's good news. We'll take every wind we can get. We got light to moderate rain across the rest of southern Jackson County. Some showers there around Henniger, down into DeKalb County. Some light showers between Fife and Geraldine. Not much to mention. Very southern part of DeKalb County, they're getting some light to moderate rain. You get into heavier rain when you get into Cherokee County. There around Cedar Bluff, around the lake, around Center, Highway 411. You move back over into Etowah County, and the good news is I think our severe thunderstorm warning may have expired for Etowah. And Drew, I may walk over here briefly and just take a quick peek at that. But let's see if I can tell if that's really true or not. Something's trying to update. I don't want anything to update at this point. Yes, the Weather Service in Birmingham has canceled the severe thunderstorm warning for Etowah County, so that's great news. We need more winds like that, but we still have very heavy rain. Reese City, down to Gadsden, over to Hoax Bluff. It's pouring in Glencoe. We've got very heavy rain in that area, and putting this in motion so you can kind of get an idea what the precipitation is doing. You know, it's shifting to the east gradually here. It's going to continue moving, out of Etowah County. We'll be moving into Cherokee County, clipping the very far northern part of Calhoun County, and then eventually you're going to have heavy rain moving out of Calhoun into Cleburne County as well. So that's what's going on in Etowah County. Good news, that storm has weakened. Let's go back into Blount County and kind of get a good picture of what's happening here. We've got very heavy rain over much of the county now, from Sneed down to Rosa, Aniana, over to Nectar. Very heavy rain there all along that area. US 31, it is pouring, raining to beat the band right now, from Hanceville down to Garden City, down to Bangor. It is pouring in Nectar. Got light to moderate rain in Locust Fork. But if you're in Rosa, it is coming down, and you probably got a little bit of hail in that area too. The hail detector, is picking up this right here. This tracker is showing over the past hour or so. That's back where the really big hail was falling. Bluntsville, Royal, Hendricks, Sneed. That's not right now. That was before. Now you see that hail track is kind of beginning to peter out. That's good news. If you look at what we're seeing now, not much at all, and that's good news. So all signs are pointing to the fact that the storms are beginning to diminish, and that's great news. Now they're not going to be over with. We're going to deal with more heavy rain and storms through the night. Will those storms be able to be strong? We'll kind of analyze that. We get these storms calmed down, we'll sort of reset, and we'll issue some new products. We'll come back and talk to you on the network about whether the storms in the middle of the night are going to be strong, because we expect another round unless things have changed since all of this action over the afternoon, because sometimes the atmosphere changes its own environment, and we'll be kind of watching that. But going back to the reflectivity, let's take a look at Coleman County, because we've got very heavy rain all along the area now, from Baileyton down to Coleman. And then it gets really intense. We got a strong cell now moving out of Winston County near Arley. It's moving into the western part of Coleman County, moving over the lake, over Smith Lake there, heading toward I-65, toward Dodge City and Coleman. It'll be moving. That sounds like our friends in the Weather Service somewhere are getting ready to issue something. So here we go, Drew. What are they telling us?
I see a flood advisory.
Okay, we'll take flood advisories. They're significant, but they're not serious. They're serious, but they're not severe. So that'll be fine. But we do have very heavy rain now all across Smith Lake. It's going to be moving toward Dodge City. This storm right here, we do have a skid on it, moving east at 22. Could have some small hail in it. It's not out of the question. But not anything that rises to the level now of being severe, which is good news. Lightning in this area, 13 strikes in the last 3 minutes. You know, that's not overly concerning, but you know, impressive if you're in that area. Certainly don't be outside as this storm rolls into your area. Pouring right now in Coleman. It's raining really hard, but the really heavy rain is just south of the city of Coleman, between Coleman and Dodge City, over to Huntsville, and that's going to continue to push east. It's going to be raining again really hard in Blount County very shortly. Areas from Holly Pond down to Blountsville, down to Nectar, including that area along US 31 from Huntsville over to Garden City and down to Bangor. It's going to be raining really hard shortly. Southeastern Winston County, it's going to continue to push on to the southeast. It's southeast now of Lynn and Double Springs and Addison, moving into the northern part of Walker County, Nauvoo, Curry, areas up there north of Jasper. Carbon Hill, you got some rain just to your southeast. You're raining moderately right now over toward Cedrum and that area between Carbon Hill and Jasper over toward Saragossa. Back to the west, northern Lamar County between Sulligent up toward Guin. Got some moderate to heavy rain here. And here comes that heavy rain moving into the western portion of Marion County at this point. Let's move to the Birmingham radar real quick and swap over to it, get a little better picture of what's going on in that part of the state. And we'll zoom into northeastern Tuscaloosa, western, southwestern Jefferson County. Pretty strong cell there west of Lakeview. It's not severe, not triggering any kind of concerns from a high wind or standpoint at this point. No, probably no hail even, but very heavy rain and a little bit of lightning. About 3 strikes in the last 3 minutes, so about a strike a minute there in areas. Northeast Tuscaloosa County near the Lakeview community. This is going to be in areas near Abernant. Going to be moving over toward Bucksville, near Tannehill State Park, up toward McCalla, staying a little north of Green Pond, West Blockton down in Bibb County. So we'll continue to track that. Not expecting that to become severe at this point. If you're down in southeastern Shelby County, down into southern Talladega, got light to moderate rain along US 280 there from Childersburg to Sylacauga, down to the Split. If you move over into Clay County, raining moderately to occasionally heavy in southern parts of Clay County, south of Lineville. Got some heavy rain southern Randolph there near Wadley. That doesn't look like any hail in that, but you get down into Tallapoosa County and then into Chambers County. There's some light to moderate rain near New Site, near Dadeville. Moving over into Randolph County, you're going to have heavy rain soon in Lynette and Valley. But repeating at this point, we've got one severe thunderstorm warning, a lot of flood advisories. That most recent flood advisory, Drew, what was it for Etowah?
Blount, Etowah, and St. Clair.
That makes sense, and you see it right here. Blount, Etowah, and St. Clair. It goes until 11:15. So, you know, a lot of rain has fallen in those areas. And sort of the estimates, you know, right around 1 to 2 inches. Enough to cause ponding on roadways. Some of the normally more prone to flooding areas might be, you know, picking up some flooding. So, again, just be careful. Nothing that rises to the level of a flash flood warning, which is really good news. But going back to the reflectivity, at this point, you see we've got this band of moderate to heavy rain now that's set up all across north central Alabama, really from Lamar and Marion counties, across Fayette, Walker and Winston, through Coleman, northern Blount, through Etowah, Cherokee, northern Calhoun. It's going to move into northern Cleburne shortly. We've got kind of a secondary band from eastern Tuscaloosa, southwestern Jefferson. It extends kind of in a broken fashion over through Shelby, Talladega, into eastern portions of the state, Coosa, Tallapoosa, Clay, and Randolph over into that part of the state, but it's not quite as heavy. So we'll kind of get the lay of the land, how the mesoscale is going to work out. Got a severe thunderstorm warning over in northwestern Mississippi. We could switch over to the, we see the edge of it from our Columbus radar and kind of zoom in on it. Talk about that warning for a second. It's got some pretty decent hail on it to the west of New Albany there. This activity moving on to the southeast, and Drew can talk a lot more about the Mezoscale than I can. I've got to kind of get up to speed on it to kind of what we're talking about. But these cells right here, pushing to the southeast at about 33 miles an hour. This severe thunderstorm warning here for Lafayette and for Marshall counties down into Pontotoc and Union counties in Mississippi is for that big cell right there. That's probably producing some hail. I don't know what the swath looks like, but yeah, I think it's probably produced a bit of a history of hail, kind of like these cells in Alabama in areas just south of I-22. And the Weather Service is tracking it. It's moving in the general direction of Tupelo, and our good friend Matt Laubin and Mississippi Live, he'll be tracking that as it continues to come his way. But you see the storms over northern Mississippi. We've got to deal with those at some point in some format. And Drew can, maybe he could pull up on Links 3, maybe the Futurecast, whichever your favorite model of the afternoon. What do you think's been the best performing model so far for us today, Drew, at this point?
Yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag, maybe. I mean, I think the HRRR definitely, I will say that it might be that it was doing pretty well, because earlier today, I think it started to kind of hit pretty hard. It started to show a kind of a bigger, heavier looking event, I'd say, versus some of the other models I was looking at. So I wasn't sure at that point whether to believe it or not, but yeah, I think it probably handled it pretty well. So let me kind of pull.
All right, I'm gonna take Links 3 here and give you control of that, and we're full screen, so.
Yeah, let's take a look at the.
And Drew's pulling up the model here, which.
That's the 18Z. I want to pull up the latest.
I think, what did I have? Bayer and 3K pulled up earlier. I think that's what
yeah, we can look at both of them.
That's the great thing about our system. We can pull in all these different models and compare and contrast and see, which models initialize best, which, seem to be handling the current conditions the best. And we have so many tools at our disposal. We're talking this morning, about, that was a big lightning strike on our Gadsden camera. Still a lot of lightning in that area. But, so many interests depend on very specific weather forecasting. How long is it going to rain? How much rain is there going to be? What is the chance there's going to be more than a quarter inch of rain? And these things impact, livelihoods. And, our job here is to try to communicate that. We want to hear from you. There are ways on our website, on our app, for you to reach out to us. And please, you are not bothering us to let us know what you think, what we can do, what things are things in our arsenal that we can do to tell you information that you can use in your daily life, that will help you. And so right here you see, Drew, you got which model pulled up? That's HRRR?
Yeah, so this is the 0Z HRRR. So this is one of the runs that goes out 4 times a day. With this model, you can go out basically 2 days from the current time or around the current time. So this is the latest run of the model that does that. So you can see it's got a pretty good idea of the placement of the storms, kind of mainly in northern Alabama right now, and also in North Mississippi. Also showing a few of those showers down in southern Mississippi as well. So again, this is that's one of the good things about this model, is that it basically updates every hour. You get a new run every hour, so you're getting good initial conditions to kind of feed into it frequently. So we'll just kind of push it through here, and you definitely can see, definitely appears as we move through the next couple hours that we continue to kind of congeal, I guess, the lines, so that things continue to sort of merge together. And certainly in North Alabama, it looks like as we get into the next several hours that it's going to basically change to, just mainly rain continuing in North Alabama. It looks like we should see maybe the heavier thunderstorm activity start to shift back towards the south again as the front finally starts to kind of push in, because it seems like the front's been kind of hung up and it hasn't been pushing through for much of the day today, but it starts to kind of push as we get into the late night overnight period. So yeah, I mean, it's trying to show that we still have some fairly heavy cells in central Alabama, even around kind of 11 o'clock midnight. So some of the areas that are seeing a little bit of a lull right now, where there's been some heavy action, some heavy thunderstorms earlier, it's looking like, not to say that it will necessarily be the same type of thunderstorms. I mean, there's going to be more of a line. There'll probably be more just rain and lightning as much as there would be. I think the hail threat should diminish by this point. We may look at a few of the other parameters while we're talking about it, not just the forecast reflectivity, but it still shows some cores in there that are a little bit hotter, that may persist on the edge of this line as we move through kind of central and south central Alabama into the kind of early morning hours of tomorrow or past midnight. But I will say it does look like the trend kind of starts to head down a little bit as we get to 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Things start to shift down into places like Demopolis and Clanton and past Alexander City. And then it looks like there are some cells out there ahead of things, potentially kind of moving in. So that activity in South Mississippi starts to push into southwestern Alabama. And but those don't look too concerning. But you can really kind of start to see that the push of the line and the front starting to kind of bow out and kind of push through as we get into early in the morning. That kind of bowing push there, sometimes that can kind of worry you a little bit there if it's picking up on something. With that, you might get a little bit more gusty winds with something like that, but may also just be more of the outflow, I guess, starting to push through and becoming kind of outflow dominant. And so, it does look like things kind of start to lose steam there by, tomorrow morning around the commute time in southern Alabama. So yeah, I'd say generally, right now we're still, as we look at it now, we're still kind of looking at this sort of a hail look and a more cellular look, but it does look like we'll congeal a little bit more, get a little bit more of a line and some rain behind that. And then we still may have to kind of watch the edge of that as it pushes through central Alabama. And it looks like you've got the instability there pulled up. Bill,
yeah,
I'll let you kind of talk
this
about
is
that.
ARRR, the HRR, one of our best convection allowing models. You were just showing the reflectivity. This is the CAPE, and what I was hoping, Drew, is that the values would be waning. And I think that's what's happening as we go through time. Here's about 2 a.m. when that really heavy rain was there passing south of I-20. Those values are starting to really drop. And when you saw those individual cells over South Alabama, now there are some pockets, 500 joules. That's not insignificant. Doesn't mean you couldn't get a strong storm, but they're certainly dropping. And that gives me hope. But there's still 400 to 800 joules there in west central southwest Alabama. Now you've got a product there, Drew. Let's talk about it. So I'll switch back to Links 3. And you show that. Tell us about that product.
Yeah, so this is the energy helicity index coming from the HRRR, and this is the latest run. So this is also the 0Z run, basically kind of what you're looking at here, very generalized explanation, is kind of a combination of looking at the instability and kind of the wind dynamics, the wind shear and things like that together to kind of come up with an index. And so these values that you see here, for now, you're kind of in that sort of light yellow part of the scale. And if you look at the legend, you can see you're kind of on the very low end, kind of left-hand side of the scale. So you're in a fairly marginal environment, and those values, as they get closer to zero, of course that's a lower chance of having some sort of severe weather. When you get over 1, that's where you start to pay attention a little bit more. But yeah, it does look like the numbers generally are getting down pretty low. They're a little bit more elevated, especially kind of western Alabama, currently, but they do start to kind of wane a little bit more as we get past midnight. And as you get into South Alabama, looks like they stay fairly low really all the way through. And a lot of it starts to kind of push out by the morning. So, and let me just go back to I wasn't even honestly completely paying attention to the exact exit time, just looking back at the reflectivity forecast. So, the models have kind of gone back and forth a little bit on exactly how long it'll take to push the main line of this out of the southeastern part of the state. Looks like that timing might be, a little bit faster than what I have seen in some of the previous runs over the last couple of days, but it still may be that the far southeastern corner, you still have some heavy rain maybe lingering in a little bit past noon tomorrow, but it looks like the vast majority of it's going to be out around that time. And then you might have some lingering showers behind, it looks like, trying to redevelop back behind the front basically. But, definitely by late morning, most of the state certainly doesn't have any thunderstorms to worry about anymore. And even in southeastern Alabama, it certainly just mainly looks like you've got some rain with and maybe a little bit of embedded thunder with there, and then a few showers kind of lingering behind it. But, North Alabama for tomorrow afternoon and evening looks pretty good. I mean, things are clearing out. May get a little bit cooler, but we don't have a big Arctic front behind this or anything, or, this isn't a big Arctic air mass coming in. So that is going to mean that it's not going to get super cold behind this. It might get a little bit cooler, but it won't be super cold. Now, I do see here, Bill, looks like we've got a new severe thunderstorm warning, or maybe an extension of the one that's in Jackson County there.
Okay, all right. Well, we can zoom up there, and I'll take links too real quick. Just give you a quick look at the whole state. You see we've got a large aerial flood warning that's in green. I've taken off all those aerial flood advisories because they were becoming relatively common. But you see our severe thunderstorm action is in the very far northeastern part of the state. So that is a composite radar right there. That's all of the radars added together so that you get that far away from radars. Like if you get down there around Montgomery, you're not going to see anything from the Huntsville radar very well. But let's go down now and let's pick the Huntsville radar and zoom in on what's going on in the northeast part of the state. There's our core. It is really sitting just north of the border, but there's just enough of it there in the northeastern part of Alabama to warrant this warning. And that warning that you see right there continues for the extreme northern part of Jackson County until 9:15. But the good news is the core is now mainly in Tennessee and moving to the east-northeast at about somewhere around 26 miles an hour. So on its current path, it's going to move mainly over southern portions of Franklin County, Tennessee. So for our friends in North Alabama, that's pretty good news. You're still going to have some heavy rain there in the northern part of Jackson County. They're generally northeast of High Top, Alabama 65, that runs from High Top up to Lakeview, Tennessee. That's where you're going to have some issues. Elsewhere across Jackson County, not too bad right now. Stevenson down to Hollywood and to Scottsboro, you've got some light to moderate rain at this hour. Back into the southwestern part of the county near Woodville and Aspel, you've got some moderate rain as well. But not going to be too long till we get that on out of here. And then maybe we're kind of done with severe thunderstorms for a while, maybe for the night. We'll see. You get down into the northern part of Marshall County, you got light to moderate rain there, some occasional heavy rain from Grant over to the southern part of Madison County there near Owens Crossroads. Light rain right now in Guntersville, moderate rain around Albertville and Boaz. Over in southern Morgan County, heavy rain south of Priceville in Hartselle and Faultville, trying to combine those two counties into one metro area there. Sorry about that. You get down into Coleman County, very, very heavy rain on I-65 now, south of the city of Coleman, there near Hanceville. you're going to run into very heavy rain over in Blount County. Got a nice little core there along US 231. Not anything like we saw before with all that hail, but very heavy rain, some lightning along 231 there, northwest of Aniana. You get back over into Etowah County, it's pouring down along US 278 there. The city of Gadsden and Attalla, it's getting ready to kind of continue moving east of there. I'll lapse that for you so you can kind of see what's happening, generally moving to the east. This stuff is kind of stalling and waiting on the support to push it on through. You can see that when we looked at those storms in Mississippi, they were pushing onto the southeast. This front's kind of waiting on a little low pressure system there in northern Mississippi to swing on across and give this front the momentum that it needs to push it on through during the overnight hours tonight and get it on out of here so we can have a nice weekend for a change. I can't tell you how many stormy weekends we've had over the past 3 months. Hard to believe we're going to be switching over to daylight saving time here. I think, Drew, is that next weekend? I
believe it's,
or the following weekend.
I think it's not. I think it's next weekend.
Yeah, I think you may be right. It's coming quickly. The weeks are flying by. We got a severe thunderstorm warning there in northeast Mississippi, west of New Albany. We'll watch those storms. I was looking at the rotation tracker on our HRRR when Drew and I were looking at modeling. That storm should weaken as it approaches the Alabama border. That's good news. And I think it will be a shell of its former self as it approaches the state. But we still have that severe thunderstorm warning in Jackson County, northeast Alabama. That's the only warning in the state. Moderate heavy rain across the north central part of Alabama, raining pretty heavily. We've got aerial flood advisories across a wide area. We want you to be very careful. These areas have picked up 1 to 2 inches. If you have to go out and about tonight, just take it easy. Check any areas that you're driving through. You see we've got a big one there from northern parts of Pickens County through Tuscaloosa County into the Birmingham metro area. You pick it up again over in northern Blount County through Etowah County. Very heavy rain there. You know, the typical spots, the spots that flood. That's the ones we want you to be careful in. And then you got that big aerial flood warning. Different than a flash flood warning. You know, they're very confusing. Flash flood warning means flooding could happen instantly. Aerial flood warning means it's been raining. There's a lot of flooding around. It may be there for a while. And that's what's going on there from southern Colbert through northern Franklin, back through Lawrence, southern Morgan into Coleman. That's what's going on at that point. So I'll kind of take those advisories off since they're a little lower on the pecking order. Keep that warning up there just to remind folks what's going on. But as soon as we get this severe thunderstorm warning out of Jackson County, and it's not going to be there much longer. It's officially in effect till 9:15. It's currently 8:40, but it's not going to be there much longer. We're here in Studio A at the Alabama Weather Network. I'm meteorologist Bill Murray. Honored to be here with meteorologist Drew McCombs. James is tonight in Clark County, making his way back from a speaking engagement and a severe weather event covering tornadoes and hurricanes, because in Alabama we deal with everything here in close proximity. We are less than 120 days from hurricane season, folks, and it will be on us before we know it, and we really are just now getting into the meat of our tornado season and our severe weather season, and we're seeing that tonight. And things are going to get active next 2 weeks. You know, not to alarm anybody, but we're going into a more active period. We're going into a more active pattern. And so it's going to be a good time for you to check your preparedness. We've just gone through the tax-free holiday. We've missed that now. If you're like me, you missed that. But it's never too late to prepare. It's never too late to make your plan. And there are plenty of resources to do that. And, you know, don't put off to tomorrow what you can do today. Always a good chance just to know where's your safe spot. How does your family know to get warnings? How do you receive them in the middle of the night when you're sleeping? Don't rely on outdoor sirens. They were not designed to wake you up. You know, I can barely get my phone to wake me up. How am I going to get an outdoor siren that's 5 miles away to wake me up? It's not going to happen. They were designed to warn you when you're at the Little League game, when you're at an outdoor event. That's what those World War II sirens were, and they're great. That's what, you know, that's what they're there for. But don't rely on them to be your last line of defense or your first line of defense. Your first line of defense has to be a weather radio. We want you to have the Alabama Weather Network app. But, you know, folks, the communication systems don't always fail. So layer your systems. And that first line of defense has to be a weather radio. It does not always work. Problems happen. We saw the Demopolis weather radio go out last weekend. Never good news when that occurs. You've got to have multiple ways. And I say that just so that you will take that seriously. Now's a good time. Tomorrow, as the weather's getting better, this weekend, next week, take this opportunity just to use the blue sky days. They're the best ones to get ready. Because when the weather's on you, that's when it's too late. When the weather radios are flying off the shelf and it's hard to get one, you got to get it off Amazon or from the local, you know, department store, and they're sold out, you know, or it's got to come through the shipping, then that's not the time to be doing it. But so enough of my pontificating tonight, but we have this great soapbox here called the Alabama Weather Network, and we are very honored to be asked to come into your home and to talk to you. So thank you for having us. It's quite an honor to be here, and something we've always dreamed about. But again, you see the situation across North Alabama at this hour. Things have calmed down considerably from where they were 3 hours ago, and that's good news. We were playing whack-a-mole with severe thunderstorm warnings. We were watching hail drifting to 2 feet across Alabama. We were starting to see hail that was beginning to be the size of baseballs, and this is February, folks. We are not even into March and April and May, when we'll really be into hail season in Alabama. But we've got strong thunderstorms now along the Alabama-Tennessee border, northern Jackson County. That's our most intense activity. We've got cells here across north central Alabama. Drew, I'll let you have it back whenever you want it, or you can continue to do it. It's totally up to you, or you can take a rest. It's totally up to you. It's been fun driving.
Yeah.
But it was even more fun watching you drive this afternoon while I was at work and waiting to get in here to be beside you. So.
Yeah, well, I guess what we could do is kind of, I guess we'll let this, hopefully they'll go ahead and get this warning canceled out of Jackson County. But yeah, I can kind of take it there. And I don't know if you've got any other pictures or anything you want to show before we kind of
why don't I do that? Why don't you take over the helm here, and I'll put it on a full screen for a second, and let you transition in, and I'll go grab the iPad here and see if we've got any amazing supercilious, I don't even know if that's a good word or not, but I'll go look for photographs, and you help shoo that storm into Tennessee, not to issue any ill will for our friends in the volunteer state, but we'll let them have it.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think we're about done with it at this point. So yeah, we'll continue to kind of make sure that moves all the way into Tennessee here. Again, it's really close, and really the worst part of the storm is in Tennessee already there. So you've got some rain there. It's still kind of the northeast of high top, but really you're kind of you're in areas that are mostly just kind of forests, and not a lot of people living in that area right there along the border. But heading over towards South Pittsburgh and towards Chattanooga, places like that. So again, we'll continue to look at that a little bit longer. And we are starting to kind of transition more into a sort of a broken line here in central Alabama, which has certainly come down in intensity here in the last hour or so. And again, we've still got some showers down towards places like Valley, down towards close to Dadeville. Got a few showers around Lafayette, we've got Stroud there, and Wadley, and Lynette, and again, Auburn's looks like the showers are kind of over there, but Opelika still a few around. And there's been scattered showers around Montgomery for a good portion of the day, but nothing really ever really heavy. So again, we'll kind of let this go here a little bit longer. We'll let that warning get expired. We'll mention, and Bill mentioned this earlier too, I think we're certainly going to have to watch some of these storms back in North Mississippi. However, I will say it looks like they let those warnings expire on them that were on there most recently. So that's good if they if the Weather Service over in Mississippi is seeing some downward trend there, and I can see that kind of looking at the radar data as well. So seeing those warnings expire in North Mississippi is a good thing. Hopefully they'll continue. Those storms that are moving towards the east will continue to weaken. And again, that's kind of what it looks like, but that is as the front starts to push in, as we get that little low starting to kind of move through and the front pushing in, then we will probably have to watch some of that a little bit as it gets a little bit of momentum heading down towards the south. Did want to pull up just to talk about some of the impacts real quick. Let me pull, let's see, I think it's links 3 I want here. Yeah, so we got power outages pulled up here. So we actually have done okay, I guess, relatively in as far as power outages are concerned. Didn't look at this earlier. There might have been a few more right after some of the damage occurred there in eastern Jefferson County. But you see, of course, Jefferson County is the highest number of power outages right now, and this is customers. So over 1.5 or 1,500 customers basically in Jefferson County are without power currently. You've got 200 in Coleman, 100 in Blount, about 200 in Talladega. And again, a lot of that associated with that main storm earlier today, and then also probably with the storm that came through more recently that we were watching there move through parts of Walker and Coleman, Blount counties, and also into St. Clair, Talladega counties. And so that's where a lot of that's probably coming from. Then, of course, you had some heavy storms in Lauderdale County as well. You got 400 out there. And actually, surprisingly, in Jackson County have 700 out there as well. And I guess that probably is associated maybe with this more recent storm coming through here. But again, we're not seeing really large amounts, and that's good to see. And hopefully, and those obviously will continue to go down as the power crews get out there and start to work on everything here. And again, hopefully we'll be able to get away without having to causing more extra trouble with the storms as we get later into the night tonight. But that's kind of what we're looking at right now. And let's see here. Again, I would say that the storms in North Mississippi at this point do look to be, the kind of the strongest ones on the board. They definitely look stronger than really anything happening in Alabama at this point. But as they continue to move towards the south, we obviously are getting later into the nighttime period. We would hope we'll see a little bit of a continued weakening trend, but they probably do have a little bit more dynamics behind them as the front is starting to push in. That will be part of the story there. Oh, I guess I need to switch you over so you can see what I'm looking at with the radar there. But again, we've got the severe thunderstorm warning that continues for a little bit longer. Now, it looks like they might have canceled it. We'll see what we got here. Okay, yep, looks like we got it canceled. All right, here we go. We can clap now. So, all right, so yes, that's what we were waiting on there, is to get the Jackson County warning is now been canceled for that storm that's moved north of the state line. So we are now warning free. No severe thunderstorm warnings across any part of Alabama at this point. And we just got flood advisories, of course, in some spots. And so that is one of the things, probably one of the main things that we'll be watching later on this evening, is just where any sort of training occurs of the rain as it's coming through, and where there could potentially be some flooding. But you can even see that looks like the number of lightning strikes has kind of fluctuated a little bit, but come down generally over the last hour or so, where we're basically lapsing the last hour. So we can see a little bit of a downward trend there, which is positive as well. And again, as we kind of look over the entire state here, You can see that again. We haven't been leaving you out in South Alabama. You've been left out by the storm so far, so that's why we hadn't been looking down in South Alabama that much this afternoon and evening. But again, we see again good trends across Alabama and even in North Mississippi, where they've let some of those warnings expire. There are still a few there on kind of the southwestern side of that line, moving through North Mississippi or kind of northeast of Greenville, Mississippi. But again, we're liking the trends so far at this point. So we will continue to watch the radar, though, obviously, as we move through. But things are a little bit quieter right now, although we just certainly still have plenty of heavy rain across portions of the state. So I guess, I don't know, Bill, do you have anything to show at this point, or do we?
No, nothing. Just a lot of the same.
Okay.
It is fabulous photographs of hail covering the ground. A lot of images of the interstates enveloped now in this thick hail fog, particularly in Etowah and up on Highway 79, up around Gunnersville. And so this is significant. And folks need to remember that if they're driving tonight up through these hail paths that we saw, especially down through Marshall into Etowah, in other places up in North Alabama. But yeah, I mean, we have spectacular photographs of hail tonight. Fortunately, not a lot of reports of damage, but one image of 4 inches of hail, a man shoveling it. Drew,
Wow.
So let's don't have any heart attacks shoveling hail out there.
Yeah, right.
Image from Sipsey from earlier of some pretty decent hail fog earlier. But we we can't show all these images. We can't even keep up. But we do see them all. And James fusses at me for not liking them all. I haven't been able to keep up with liking them all tonight either. But I'll get better as the spring goes on. I'm taking training from the Lucy and Viv School of Chocolate Making, and I will get better at this. But we appreciate every one of our social media and Skywatcher contributors out there. You guys are amazing. As James says, you're looking good.
Yep, absolutely. And we're another thing that's looked very good tonight, and that continues to be so helpful to what we're doing here, is our Region Skycam network. So as we kind of wrap things up here for now, we'll get just kind of letting it play through a little tour here. We're looking at Hoover right now, 63 degrees. Obviously, rain's been falling recently. In Huntsville there, you can see it's 56 degrees. Things have mostly cleared out of there, but still maybe a shower down on the southern part of the area there. Dew points are still in the 50s, but let's see if we can get those to start to come down a little bit as the front moves through. Cheehaw, you can't see a whole lot there. It's kind of in the clouds. It's 58 degrees there at Mount Cheehaw. Nakalula Falls might have a little bit more rain coming over the falls there here with the rain that came through earlier. I was trying to give it a second to kind of start. There it goes. Starting to move a little bit there. And then in Russellville, of course, it's dark here now. It's 57 degrees, but we had some really good lightning coming off this camera earlier this afternoon. Had some pretty cool views from that section. It's 59 degrees there, and things have still probably seeing a little bit of rain in the area there, but things are starting to calm down a little bit there. Again, we're looking at some of our cameras from our friends at Barron, the Barron Institute here. This is in Decatur. Of course, we've got a brand new Decatur camera as well as part of the Region Skycam network. And so again, we're taking a look at a few of these other ones here, and this is in Fort Payne. Oops, sorry, just ran into a chair there. That's what that loud noise was. And this is the picture from Governor's Drive there in Huntsville. That's one of the ones we looked at a lot when we had some of the winter events in the last month or two. This is in Ardmore from the Region Skycam network here. Again, it's 53 degrees there, and Alabaster at 63 degrees. And I don't know if we've got, again, because things are starting to settle down, we don't have a lot of them left that we're really seeing a lot of action on here, which is a good thing. That might have been some, I don't know if that was lightning I just saw on the Albertville camera. That might be some of that, trying to think, I don't know, that wouldn't necessarily be that hail fog from there. There's may just be some normal fog there, because I don't think we had a hailstorm right there in that area too much. But Anderson obviously had that storm came through pretty recently actually, no, we don't. I guess we don't have anything right there in Anniston. We just got some low clouds there. It was Gadsden is what I was thinking of there. Bald Rock, we're up in the clouds, 60 degrees. There, saw some good action from this camera earlier this afternoon as well when the sun was still up. And Region Center in downtown Birmingham got some low little wispy clouds moving through, showing the kind of the direction of the wind there, sort of moving from the southwest. Winds gusting up to around 35 miles per hour. There's Tuscaloosa, 67 degrees, still a little bit warm there in western Alabama. So dew points are in the low 60s. And that may tell us a little bit something about what could end up happening when we see those storms come in from northern Mississippi. It might be a decent environment for those still if it's still up in the upper 60s, but we'll in the low 60s for the dew points. But we'll have to watch that.
Yeah, that's where that Cape was still 600 to 800.
Yeah, so western Alabama, kind of west central part of the state, Pickens County, Lamar, Sumter, Tuscaloosa, some of those counties. That would be some areas we'll probably be watching the next couple hours. But again, Coleman, 58 degrees, and see a few drops of rain on the lens there. But anyway, I'll let that just kind of play in the background. But I think we'll go ahead now and go ahead and just wrap things up here. So as Bill has mentioned, we're going to kind of reset here, take a look at the data, and we'll put out a few forecast products here, and hopefully we'll see things continue to wind down over the course of the night. But we'll be watching things here, obviously, and if we do need to break in again, do any more long form coverage, we will. But certainly hoping that we don't need to. Anything else, Bill? Or
I've got a great video if you want to go out with it on WEXO 5 as you close it out, and I can take us out over here after we play this through a few times. But a beautiful video tonight from Lookout Mountain, north of Gadsden, which is a beautiful place any day of the week. But you get lightning like this. That is stunning.
Yeah.
And what an image, what a video. There from one of the most beautiful places in Alabama.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we appreciate everyone watching us here and trusting us with the weather coverage here. And again, just continue to look for us. We'll be here and watching things. And again, for Bill Murray, I'm Drew McCombs, and we'll be watching things. We appreciate you watching us here on the Alabama Weather Network.